Need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book. It's a lot of people's favorite book. This Bible is a reminder that the biggest thing we have to bring back America and to make America great again is our religion. Religion is so important. It's so.
What's going on, everybody? Today I want to talk about a few topics. The first one is Trump has concocted his own Bible with U.S. documents inside it with Lee Greenwood. We're going to watch those clips and talk about it. Second, Matt Walsh has responded, and Thomas Massie also responded to my post where I was asking Matt Walsh about the speech laws I've been talking about that I feel like Daily Wire is not talking about and playing along to. Matt actually responded, which is interesting. I'm going to read his response. I'm going to read Thomas Massie's response, and then I want to talk about it because it's definitely culture and influence is starting to creep into conservative media that for a while was not talking about this stuff. So it's worth talking about now. Then I want to talk about a post that I saw from Jordan Peterson, Tim Pool, and Charlie Kirk, all separate ones, but I find it interesting. Then I'll read some of your comments. So that's the show today. I'll wait for people to get in. And this is Dream Rare Podcast. Thanks for being here.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on? Eddie, Phaedra, James, Remember, Kevin, Kelly, Irene, DC, Adam. I appreciate you guys, especially those early birds. Thanks for being here. I'm going to play this clip and then I'm going to get your response because I did a Twitter poll as well. So let me know what your thoughts on this are because I'm going to read a few aloud before I interject my opinion on it. So Trump, I think to raise money for legal fees and just as another sales tactic, he's taking Bibles, but he's adding documents to them. He's adding the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Pledge of Allegiance, and he's combining it with a sales thing with Lee Greenwood, who I believe wrote the song God Bless the USA, beautiful song. And that's Trump's new thing, $60 Bibles that have U.S. documents included in the book. Here's the video. Then I'm going to read the poll that I took and read your opinions aloud before I read my own.
All Americans need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book. It's a lot of people's favorite book. This Bible is a reminder that the biggest thing we have to bring back America and to make America great again is our religion. Religion is so important. It's so missing, but it's going to come back, and it's going to come back strong, just like our country is going to come back strong.
All right, I'll read a few of your opinions because I don't want to interject mine and interfere with yours. So someone said, I'm 100% pagan and I'm more Christian than Trump, said Kevin. Kelly said Jesus would flip them tables of Bibles. That's all I know. Someone said pagans take it up the butt. Mr. Terrible, you are terrible. No, I'm just kidding. But I thought it was funny just watching it. Like he's always like he has the same type of he's a character where he's like, you know, I love the Bible. It's my favorite book. I have a lot of them in my house. It's just like it's that same kind of formula. It's like, I love this. There's a lot of it. I have a lot of it. Mine are the biggest and best. It's kind of funny. Someone said selling altered Bibles is satanic. Someone said, don't add to the Bible, warns against it in Revelation. He's never read a Bible in his life, said Dutch. All right, so I'll just show you my poll real quick. Then, of course, I'll give you my opinion. I just didn't want to come out with it. I wanted like uninterfered opinions from the audience. I did this poll on Twitter. I said, Trump is selling $60 Bibles with the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and Pledge of Allegiance on it. I said, great idea or lame and sacrilegious. 46% said great idea. 54% said lame and sacrilegious. Me personally, now that I've read some of your comments, I think it's lame and sacrilegious, and I'm not like overtly offended by it. Like I'm gonna, talk about it for an hour and cry. But I do think, as a Christian and someone who's American and loves the Constitution and the Pledge of Allegiance and all of those, this is my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with it. That's fine. If he were to sell a package of all those things, but have the Bible and then all of the other American documents separate, you get what I'm saying? Like the Bible as a whole, the King James Version, I think is what he used. And then to the side of it, like a booklet of those 4 or 3 documents from the U.S., to me, that would have been more digestible. I don't like the idea of adding one country's documents to a book that is for, the world and for all nations. I do think it's kind of like sacrilegious, but not enough to really cry about forever. It seems a little skeezy to me. I want to play this clip real quick. I saw it on Twitter. I thought it was funny. It's Lee Greenwood being like, Trump could have been selling any Bible that he wants, but he chose to sell our version of it.
The president has also asked the nation to pray and use that particular Bible. I mean, he could have used any Bible at all, but because it has the documents of our founding fathers, I think that makes it unique. And I do have my own signed copy from him, by the way.
I have my own signed copy too, but just the way he worded it, I have to speed it up or else they're going to copyright strike me. But I just thought that was like, conservative media is so goofy to me. It's such a clown show. Like, he's like, he could have used any version of the Bible, but he used our version and I got a signed copy. And it's like, it's unique that he used our, yeah, it's a unique Bible because you added things to the Bible that don't belong there. So yeah, it is unique. Like, it's just like, I got my signed copy. Yeah, he could have used any version, but he used ours. Why did he use your version? Is it because he just randomly plucked it off a bookshelf, or because he's selling them for $60 to, make money for legal fees? I don't know. I find it a little ridiculous. I'm going to move on to other topics. Give me a thumbs up in the comments real quick if everything's good. The numbers are fluctuating like aggressively. I don't know if it's because what I'm saying is unpopular or I'm getting like kicked off of certain feeds. Just let me know. I'm not too concerned either way, but sometimes when the numbers fluctuate like really quickly up and down, it usually means I got kicked off somewhere. So I don't know if that happened or not. What was added to the Bible? The Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Pledge of Allegiance, and one other U.S. document. That's I'm not gonna spend all day on it. That's my take. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I do think it's pretty bad and sacrilegious. Like, sell them together in a package, but separate the Bible from the American text. Don't add them to the book. I think that's kind of gross and weird. But Trump's the type of salesman. I think he would sell water to a whale and salt to a snail. And I would never buy one of those versions of the Bible, but I would buy something if they were separate. That's just my opinion. All right, let me get to this because Matt Walsh actually responded to me, and I know I've been talking about this a lot. It's probably annoying. That's why I led with the Trump Bible story, because I'm not trying to be too repetitive, but I feel like for the first time in 5 years, we're actually making gains in conservative culture, and because of the Candace Owens thing, they're not able to ignore this anymore. And I want to explain this real quick because I know a lot of people, they're like, look, Matt said it, he means he's for free speech, and I'm not saying he's not, but yeah, the numbers are going crazy. I don't know what's going on. It's going from like 450 to 300 up to 450 again. This never happens. I'm just going to go along. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting kicked and re-put on certain things, but whatever. I don't think that this would be in the discussion and anyone would be saying anything about the speech laws if it weren't for the Candace controversy. Like the controversy over Candace has gotten Daily Wire such backlash that they're now speaking on it. So that's just the difference when people will say to me like, oh, you look, Matt tweeted that he's really against these anti-Semitism hate speech laws. Like, see, he means it. And I'm like, yeah, but he wouldn't have tweeted that if I didn't say something, and he would have never answered me if everybody wasn't on my side. Like 5 years ago, they kind of covered this up, swept it under the rug, called people those names. And in my view, a lot, and I'm not saying Matt Walsh specifically, but a lot of conservative media blacklisted and smeared and censored any conservative who knew this. So that's just how I have to frame it before I read it. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you're just being too harsh. I don't really believe I am. I think the only reason they're talking about this and saying even a word about it is because everyone has woken up to it, and there is social media pressure for them to speak on this very important issue. So I'll show you the original post, and then we'll go to what Thomas Massie said. So I responded to Matt Walsh on one of his posts, and I said, you should try doing a video on the anti-Semitism hate speech laws that are being passed into legislation and how some of your coworkers literally tweet out some of the hate speech phrases while accusing the now fired coworker of being hateful. Might lose your job, though. Matt Walsh responded, he said, I'm against any hate speech laws, including anti-Semitism hate speech laws. I think the category of hate speech and hate crime shouldn't exist. I've never had any problem saying any of this. I've been very consistent voice on this issue for a decade, but you guys are just determined to deny that for whatever reason. So he responded to me and said, I'm against these anti-Semitism hate speech laws. I responded to that. I said, your news network spends a lot more time falsely accusing others of hate speech than they do talking about the hate speech laws that are being passed. I think you stay silent on the issue because you're afraid of being falsely smeared as anti-Semitic by your coworkers. Before I explain why I'm doing this or what that means to those who don't know, I want to read what Thomas Massie said, because he saw what I typed, responded to it. And Thomas Massie is one of the only people in Congress who has stood up to these anti-Semitism hate speech laws. Almost every Republican's in on it. And Thomas Massie constantly gets smeared as an anti-Semite for believing in the First Amendment. And they always straw man it and frame it as something it's not. So here's what Thomas said to that comment. He responded and he said, the categories hate crime and hate speech and conspiracy where there's no activity are illegitimate. Our justice system must prosecute crime, not thoughts. Which is true. I agree. Here's what I want to explain. In 2019, I'm sorry for being like, so I just have to set the record and like set the scene of what's going on, or else some people will be lost, because a lot of people follow every video and it's interesting because we're actually making progress. Others, they only watch a few. So I don't want to just act like everybody knows what I'm talking about. In 2019, Trump passed an executive order putting anti-Semitism hate speech rules through executive order for college campuses, creating safe spaces. While PragerU and Daily Wire were saying they were against safe spaces, Republicans were creating them. Ron DeSantis passed a bill in Florida that also had hate speech phrases. And once I realized that they were total hypocrites, they said that they were against hate speech rules and safe spaces. They all pretty much boxed me out, blacklisted me, smeared, censored, silenced, and talked shit on any conservative who realized they were doing this. So fast forward 5 years, it's just happening more and more. Kristi Noem's passing them. Governor Abbott passed one yesterday with the word safe space literally in his tweet. He also said that they need to look at free speech policies at their school and monitor rhetoric. You know, it's all speech policing. It's not crime policing. It's hate speech rules and laws to police speech and thoughts and activism. So now Matt Walsh is talking about it because Candace got fired. It's happening more and more through government, and everybody realizes now. So now he's like, I'm against anti-Semitism hate speech laws. I believe that he is, but how come he's never made a video on it? How come he never talks about it? He talks about the left all the time. Like, he's probably talked about the left 10,000 times. Cool. But this is my issue with a lot of conservative commentators. Yes, the left sucks. Talk about it, point it out. But if our team also sucks, we're never going to win. If Trump and DeSantis are the best that we have and they're both infringing on the First Amendment, that's not good enough. They should. How come nobody talked about that for 5 years? Matt Walsh only talked about it because I almost ratioed him on his own post. Everybody knows that he's covering that up. And what I said there, I believe to be true. I think Matt Walsh is against hate speech laws. I do think he does oppose the anti-Semitism hate speech laws, but he never really vocalizes it or talks about it that much because he'll get smeared as an anti-Semite, just like Candace Owens, just like everybody, just like Thomas Massie. So he's against it, but he knows it's just easier to talk about the left because he works at the Daily Wire, a place where they seem to have their loyalties elsewhere, and then they'll call it hate speech to say that you even said that. So it's like making these people, asking them these questions peacefully, law-abiding. I'm not saying to do anything weird or crazy, just asking them tough questions on social media. It's now getting them to talk about it. Matt's like, you guys always try to pretend like I'm not for free speech. Dude, it's been 6 years. I've never seen you talk about it one time. Why doesn't he he's so concerned about free speech, right? He talks about that all the time. Why doesn't he make a video and say, listen, Ron DeSantis is infringing on free speech. Governor Abbott, Donald Trump, Youngkin, Noem, Huckabee Sanders, Governor Kemp. Like, it's not just a fringe thing. It's happening in almost every state. It's happening in 30 different states when it comes to anti-protest laws. They're creating safe spaces. These are the same people that cried about safe spaces on college campus. They said, oh, they're trying to create a safe space. We're against the facts, feelings. And they've been doing it for 5 years. Not Matt Walsh specifically, but the politicians are doing it. And then Daily Wire, Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, Tim Pool, all these people try to act like it's not happening. And then anybody who comes on their show and talks about it, Tim Pool just screams at you. And I believe that Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk are trying to box everybody out. That's why nobody even knows that this is happening. So I'm not trying to just pick on Matt Walsh, but I do believe that if he told his audience what was truly happening in the Republican Party and that they were selling out for donors and lobbyists and they were passing laws against the Constitution, his coworkers would smear him as anti-Semitic. So he just doesn't say anything until he's questioned to the point where now he's unpopular on Twitter. Everything he says, everybody just laughs at him because they know he won't talk about that. And he's like, I've always been against it. Show me where. Yeah, saying I'm for free speech. Yeah, I'm for, Ben Shapiro says that too. Charlie Kirk says it. A lot of people say they're for free speech, but then they turn around and they call everybody anti-Semites while those laws are being passed into legislation, deeming words and thoughts, and in some cases, just objectively true statements as hate speech. And they never talk about it. And I think that this is the perfect time to talk about it. Usually no one cares because Candace is a high profile person who got fired for anti-Semitism. So they say it's a great time to talk about it because anti-Semitism is not just a feeling that Ben Shapiro or Jeremy Boring has or some, religious leader that feels offended by what Candace said. It's laws and rules and phrases that are being passed through government as hate speech, and they're all in on it. And Matt Walsh has not made a serious objection to it in 5 or 6 years until now. And then he's like, yeah, I always talk about it. You don't though. Yeah, I haven't seen a single video on it. Like just saying, I'm for free speech. Cool. Well, what about the fact that our party's infringing on it? Where's the big video? Where's the big showcase of it? It doesn't exist because he knows he's under pressure he's on a short leash at Daily Wire. He's on a short leash where anytime he talks about having loyalty to America, they cut him off and say, no, but you should have loyalty to this foreign country. And then he just shuts his mouth and makes money. So it is what it is. God bless him. He does a lot of good work. Everybody can make whatever videos they want to make. It's not like I control what Matt Walsh makes or anything because he gets to make what he's inspired to make. This is just my personal opinion. I don't think he's not talking about this because he's not inspired to talk about it. I think he knows the consequences of talking about it. Just talk about the left. Don't talk about this. And I want to give you an example with Jordan Peterson real quick. Jordan Peterson came to America, right? He ran away from Canada because the Canadian conservatives are liberal and the liberals are even more liberal. So Jordan Peterson runs to America because he's like, oh, Canada, they won't let me say pronouns. Oh, I got my vaccine. Oh, no, they're persecuting me. Who would have known? Big Pharma was corrupt. Ben Shapiro never told me. He's like doing this little thing. So he runs to America. God bless Jordan Peterson. And then as soon as he gets here, he's been here for a couple months, wearing cowboy hats or whatever, going to Nashville, not literally wearing cowboy hats, but he's like out at Kid Rock's bar being like, oh, America, this is cool, and then he tweets out this stupid anti-Second Amendment propaganda that Matt McConaughey did a little political speech. Listen, Matt McConaughey's a great actor. He's a likable guy, but his speech was anti-Second Amendment propaganda. He was trying to come off as reasonable and calm, just like Obama did when he used to talk against the Second Amendment. It sounds so reasonable because they're good actors. So this is all I'm saying. I know I'm going to sound like a dick, but I mean it. If you run from Canada and you flee to America, learn the first 2 amendments, bucko. Okay? If you can't figure it out and you're posting anti-Second Amendment propaganda on your Twitter page because you're such a weak Canadian that you fall for like Matt McConaughey anti-Second Amendment propaganda, I think it's time to deport Jordan Peterson, let him set up a little Zoom call studio in Quebec or Toronto, and he could, Daily Wire, if they were really America first, they'd deport Jordan Peterson and let him do his show from Canada. He's a great voice who deserves the First Amendment, but if you can't even stand up for the Second Amendment in America, it's time to hit the road, bucko. We don't need liberal conservatives in America. Keep that shit in Canada. It's annoying. But here's the point I want to make. I'm not just being rude. Daily Wire said nothing. When he pushed anti-Second Amendment propaganda, Daily Wire didn't care. They don't police him. They don't call it hate speech. They don't say you've gone too far. It's like, oh, Jordan Peterson's just an individual. It's just like Candace Owens. Candace Owens, they're like, oh, we're not hiring Candace Owens to be us. We're hiring her for her personality and her opinions. That's what they said 5 months ago. Now they're firing her, and Jeremy Boring admits on a Twitter space that he's not hiring people to disagree with him. So what is his main agenda? If it's not the Second Amendment or the First Amendment, what is his main agenda? It seems to be a foreign country. It seems to be hate speech. It seems to be a word that he defines as hate, but he can't even really describe it. And he thinks that everybody who disagrees with this foreign policy is hateful and must hate everyone. This is who they are. I'm not just picking on Jordan Peterson because he's got a funny voice and he's Canadian. It's like, come to America, learn the first 2 amendments, bucko. If you can't, go home. You know what I'm saying? We don't need weaker conservatives here. And the Daily Wire, where are their priorities at? When Ben Shapiro tweets out, when Ben and Jerry's is boycotting America and talking shit about America, Ben Shapiro says, I disagree with them, but I still like their ice cream. I'm still going to buy their ice cream. As soon as Ben and Jerry boycott Israel and speak against Israel, even they are Jewish, but that's what they're doing. They're more like liberal, progressive, like anti-Zionists, I guess, or something. But now Ben Shapiro's like, it's time to boycott their ice cream. So what does it show me? That when they do stuff in America, it's like, oh, I'll still eat their ice cream. But the second they do it to a foreign country, stop eating their ice cream. Jordan Peterson is against the Second Amendment. He doesn't even know it because he's like, oh, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, it sounds reasonable to a dingbat Canadian. I'm not saying all Canadians. I love Canadians. They're very nice. But like, Canada doesn't have the First Amendment or the Second Amendment. They're shutting down their social media pages. They don't even let Canadians look at real information anymore. They got like a communist government with Justin Trudeau over there. And then Jordan Peterson comes to America and is like, oh, that sounds very reasonable. Yeah, to a Canadian dummy like you, Jordan Peterson, it sounds really reasonable. But to an American, we see right through Barack Obama and Matt McConaughey. It's anti-Second Amendment, gun-grabbing propaganda to slowly infiltrate America and turn it into Canada. And we don't want it that way. So one, learn the why America is slightly, better in some ways. In some ways it's not, but in some ways it is. And then second, ask yourself why the Daily Wire said nothing to him when he was down to infringe on the Second Amendment. But if he ever switched up on the foreign policy, they'd probably fire him like Candace Owens, okay? We all know what's going on. It's not working anymore. And the only reason Matt Walsh even said that he's against the anti-Semitism speech laws is because everybody is realizing that he's a phony and he's kind of like a little court jester, Daily Wire dog leash walking him. You know what I'm saying? And he never mentions it. Make a whole 5-10 minute video on it. Why? You're not that passionate about the First Amendment. No, it's not interesting to you. It's not that it's not interesting to him. It's he knows the consequences. Daily Wire, they prioritize something. It's not America. It's not the First Amendment. It's not the Second Amendment. It's something else. I wonder what. I wonder why. Don't ever say it, because then they'll accuse you of hate speech. The same people that say there's no such thing as hate speech. The liberals just hate me. They hate the truth. The truth sounds like hate speech. Facts don't care about your feelings. Yeah, that's what they think for everything but one race, one religion, and one country. And then all of a sudden, facts go out the window. It's all feelings. The First Amendment doesn't matter. The Second Amendment doesn't matter. You're just being hateful. And then they blacklist you, smear you, and behind the scenes call you mean names because they can't out-debate you. That's what's going on. Everybody is now figuring it out. That's why I'm talking about it. And that's why I'm questioning Matt Walsh. It's not because I hate the guy, but it's like, I used to think that these people were just like naive or they didn't know. Now I know what it is. It's called being a sellout. It's like, if I sold Gatorade and I thought the ingredients were trash, they have like gross food dyes in them. It's like, oh, Anomaly just likes Gatorade now. It's like, maybe they paid me. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I make more money if I say that or I don't say that. That's what everybody's doing. I used to think these people just didn't know it was happening. I'm like, maybe they just don't know the First Amendment's being infringed on. Maybe they know. They just know. How much am I making? How much do I get every month? It's a lot of money. If I said this, if Matt took a real stance against the anti-Semitism speech laws, they'd call him anti-Semitic. And now his income would be in jeopardy. His job would be in jeopardy. And nobody wants to lose a lot of money because the Daily Wire is probably a cash cow. They're crushing, which is fine. I'm just saying it's like, that's what it's so is CNN and MSNBC and Fox. It's like, they pay you the big bucks to sit there and never cross a certain line. And if you cross it, they fire you like Tucker. It's called being a sellout. You know what you're doing. Everyone knows what you're doing. Everyone needs to play by certain rules. And I'm not saying like any company allows you to do whatever, but this is why America sucks now, is because it used to be like, oh yeah, I'll make some sacrifices to make money. Everybody does. But it's like, what are the sacrifices you're making? Are you a conservative commentator that has to pretend like you don't care about the First Amendment when it comes to one group of people? Because that's not a small topic. It's like literally the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which is perhaps the most important, debatable, but perhaps. And you have to gaslight people into thinking that you don't know what's going on until they complain. And then you say, yeah, I'm against it, but I'm not really going to talk about that much because if I did, that's what's going on. So people are being sellouts. They're selling out their Constitution, their country, their political party for money. And, it's not one person's fault or one group's fault, because a lot of people are probably watching this, not everybody, but some people are probably watching this thinking, I'd probably do what Matt Walsh is doing for a couple million. I would never talk about the speech laws. So it's like, so you're just Anderson Cooper then. You're Don Lemon. You're like the right-wing version, A lot of people, they don't have conviction to their morals or what they believe. So they're like thinking, yeah, I would probably stay silent on that one topic if I could do these other ones. And that's why the country is where it is. And I wanted to say this too before I get to Charlie Kirk and Tim Pool, is a video is going viral now of Jordan Peterson debating Destiny, some left-wing guy that I have no idea. I anytime I see his video, I just tune it out because I'm like, oh, this is another like fake debate or whatever. But Jordan Peterson schools him on the vaccine. And this is another point I'm going to make. Was it good? Sure. Yeah. Jordan Peterson's not wrong. But the thing is, like, when did that really matter? When were millions of lives on the line and kids and college kids that are 18, 19 that were forced to take it to play sports? Like, when was that key moment where it actually mattered? 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. That's when it mattered. When it mattered in 2019, actually early 2020, before the COVID vaccine, Ben Shapiro put out a video where he said that vaccine mandates were okay because it's equivalent to, if you don't get a vaccine, it's like polluting a river that the whole community needs. That's what he said before. He actually did switch his stance with the COVID vaccine. You got to give Ben Shapiro credit. But in January or February of 2020, Ben actually put out a video as they were doing vaccine mandates in New Jersey and California, trying to do them before the pandemic. Ben made a case for that. Then he went on to basically go after Louis Farrakhan for telling black people not to take the vaccine. And Ben Shapiro is like, how dare you? Black people should be taking the vaccine. How dare you, Louis Farrakhan? Oh my gosh, anti-Semitic. Oh my gosh, you need it. And now people call me Nation of Islam because I laughed that Ben was wrong about the vaccine and Farrakhan was telling people not to get it. So now I must be Nation of Islam, right? Because Ben Shapiro lied hysterically about the vaccine for 2 years. So that makes me Nation of Islam. I have to say, Ben Shapiro, you're always right, and Louis Farrakhan, you're always wrong, or else I'm Nation of Islam. I'm a Christian. I'm not Islamic, and I'm not Nation of Islam. I have nothing to do with them. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, it's like, okay, what was Jordan Peterson doing when it really mattered? He took the vaccine and then he cried like on Twitter. He's like, oh, I can't believe what's happening to me. Oh, you tricked me. You tricked me. And it's like, is that the leader you want in battle? Could you imagine George Washington? America wouldn't exist if George Washington was like, oh my gosh, I got tricked. Like, it's like, wow, what great leadership we have here. Someone who's 3 years late who gets tricked and then like gets hysterical about it as if it's their fault for tricking you. It's like the logic of Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro over this. I'm not mad that they made a mistake or an error or whatever you want to call it. It's just laughable that they try to act like they're the victim and they're not. They were never wrong. It was that they got lied to, and how are they going to know? It's like Ben Shapiro's whole argument was like, how, Pfizer and the government lied to me. Like, it's not like I was wrong. I got lied to and I believed them. It's like, oh yeah, the government's never lied before and Pfizer's never lied. Of course they have. All they do is lie. So you're an idiot. It's like saying I believed Rachel Maddow, so I'm not responsible for my thoughts. She is. It's like, grow up, And then Jordan, it's the same thing. It's like when he realized that he's like, I took your vaccines, I took them all, and now you won't let me travel still. And it's like he's like having like a little girl, like boy, child fit over it. And it's like, yeah, Jordan, you complied to everything, every vaccine mandate that the Canadian government told you to do, and now they're not letting you travel. Oh no, who would have, like, the way, it's not that he made the mistake or the error. It's like him crying like a little baby, like he's so shocked. Like these are not my leaders. They're way dumber than me. They're way faker than me. They're wrong about the most important issues of our time, but they're really good at debating women and feminists and liberals. Like that's all they're good at. But Jordan Peterson is an interesting guy. He's helped a lot of people. I'm grateful of him. The point I'm just trying to make, though, is like, these are the games that they play. Nobody knows that they're passing anti-free speech hate laws. Republicans are, and they don't know that people like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro are all playing along to the hate speech laws, and they either support them or stay silent on them and then use those hate speech accusations on other people. Jordan Peterson does it all the time. They don't even know that this is happening, because if they had to debate actual conservatives who weren't fake and stupid, then everybody would know. They would get smoked in a debate on this topic. So they don't. They pair them up with Destiny. 4 years later, and now I'm a vaccine hero. 4 years too late. Yeah. Oh wow, you beat a liberal on the easiest topic to debate 4 years after everybody already knows, and there's no risk or penalty for being right about this topic. When it was all on the line, you were on the wrong side of history. Ben Shapiro at a college campus, Charlie Kirk with a depressed liberal who takes drugs. Like, these are not impressive things that people are easily impressed by. And I'm not trying to be a hater, but it's like, I believe they kind of set this up like a Roman theater, where it's like, we're going to sell you out. We're going to take donor money. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to justify these speech laws and not talk about them. And in order so nobody knows, we're going to box everybody else out and then put the least impressive person in front of us to debate, so people think we're winning something. It's like a Romney versus an Obama debate. That's how I see these people. It's like Romney versus Obama. And I'm like, I don't like either of them. And they're like, oh, you're just a hater. You're just a hater, Anomaly. You don't like Romney? What are you, Obama? No. Are you a Democrat? No. They're both the same. You know what I'm saying? And I'm starting to think that's what right-wing media is. It's like a giant distraction circus. So I'm not trying to be too rude, but I do want to repeat these topics before I move on. Daily Wire cut ties with Candace Owens and called her an anti-Semite over her liking tweets and her saying stuff that they didn't want to hear. Yet mysteriously, none of them seem to have the capabilities to out-debate her on the topic. So they just do what they've done to people for 5 years: blacklist, smear, talk shit about. But like Andrew Klavan's like, oh, Candace did this and that. Shut up, Andrew Klavan. You're way too stupid to debate Candace Owens. She would make you look like a baby with a binky. Baby. That would be you in a debate with Candace. So it's like your company gets rid of her, and then you have all these stupid takes that nobody even listens to because your show sucks. And even with their advertising budget, nobody wants to listen to you because it's boring. But it's like you have all these thoughts when she leaves, yet nobody, while she was there, seemed capable of debating her. You know, with Ben, even over the yay stuff, it's like, why not? You know, he's talking bad about Candace all the time. Why not talk to her? Doesn't she work at your business? You know, it's like these people have all these opinions about everyone. I'm not above it. I'm speaking right now. I'll debate any of these people. I've been wanting. People say, why don't you debate them? I've been asking for 5 years, and it's not like I need the attention. I know they're lying, but I know their strategy. Their strategy is debate a liberal so you think they're impressive, even though they're annoying and just so cringe and not, their personalities all suck. You know, debate the liberal to make themselves look amazing. Figure out which conservatives know what they're doing and know that they're supporting and working with politicians who are passing anti-free speech laws. Blacklist them, make a list, and start doing guilt by association. Candace liked this tweet. Anomaly got retweeted. This person's that person. Start calling them names. Smear everybody as anti-Semitic as the anti-Semitism speech laws. So it's like you're using the hate speech laws against the conservative party, and then just find another like depressed drug addict liberal to prop up so nobody knows that it's even happening. Like, I know that's what they're doing. You know, it's that strategy of like box everyone out who knows, only have on pastors who agree with us and stuff like that. And then, you know, smear everybody once they're gone. Have a debate with people. So I just wanted to say, like, that's the game that they're playing over there. Jordan Peterson is cool with anti-gun propaganda in America. He should go back to Canada. But in general, if he's going to move here, learn the Second Amendment, bro. Stop falling for like political sob stories like a liberal. The dude is like more emotional than a liberal. Oh, Matthew McConaughey made a lot of sense there. If you're stupid, yeah. I mean, everyone makes sense if they tell you a story and try to take your rights, if that's how dumb you are. But it's like, in general, why did that not get reprimanded by the Daily Wire? Because the First and Second Amendment aren't that important to them. What's really important is the hate speech laws for one race, one religion, and one country. And they'll call everyone hateful for noticing, and they'll barely mention it until it comes up. And then they'll be like, yeah, I'm against that. You're not, though. You weaponize those hate speech laws 1,000 times, and then you say I'm against them one time 5 years later when it bubbles up to the point where everybody knows you're full of shit. I've known that this has been happening since 2019. I have the tweets to prove it, and it's pretty satisfying watching everybody figure it out and watching them finally have to talk about it. So I'm glad that it's finally in the conversation. I want to mention two things real quick, but I'll show you this tweet that's going viral of Tim Pool for being just a horrible garbage dumpster of a person. He tweeted, I think it's funny that women in New York City are getting punched in the face. So, you know, I have a theory. This is not proven, but I've talked about it in different ways. I feel like they take the most annoying, like, no personality, just annoying. They're always angry. They're always like yelling. Like, if you watch this and you were moderate or liberal, like, you wouldn't watch Tim Pool and be like, oh, he's pretty cool. You'd be like, oh, this guy's annoying. Like, he wants women to get punched in the face. It's like, you know, not all women in New York City are liberal. And also, I mean, I understand, like, you're like, oh, they're liberal, they voted for this. I understand saying this, like, vote the other way if you want the crime to go down. I agree. Saying you want women to get punched in the face, go look at the voting records. Like, I lived in Los Angeles for a certain period of time. 30 to 40% of the population there is conservative. And a lot of people are broke and they have nowhere to go. Like, I know people that are born and raised in New York, like New York, you know, those type of guys with that accent. They're not leaving because that's their hometown. They're proud of it. That's where they're from. They're not liberal. And the women that they're raising are not liberal, but they just, you know, they don't have the money and resources to leave. And that's all they know. It's like their family came on a boat here, you know, 80 years ago. They landed in New York City, and that's where all their family and infrastructure is. So my point is this. I get saying that I don't care if liberals get hit because they're voting for this, or I don't, liberals vote the other way. Stop making your city go to crap. Like, you don't even care. You get mad at people like Daniel Penny who try to rescue people, or like, where are all the men helping? They're all leaving because you guys prosecute strong men and you elevate weak men. All of these statements to me are like statements that are true, that are strong, that are manly, but it's also not like you're a scumbag. Like, no real man would be like, I want women to get punched in the face. Like, even if I see like a 21-year-old liberal girl get punched in the face in New York City, I feel bad. It's like her parents failed her. The schools failed her. She probably went off to college, got lied to. Maybe she has good parents. She doesn't listen to them. It's like, I see it as a tragedy. Like, yeah, you could turn it into a comedy or whatever, but like, to say you want women to get punched in the face, like, this is why people don't like Republicans and conservatives. And I know Tim pretends like he's a fence sitter. He's like, I'm not conservative. You are at this point, bro. Like, yeah, you're not completely, but you are. Like, probably 90% of his audience is Republicans at this point. You don't have to take the label, but like, everybody knows who watches your show. It's not liberals. You sound like Tim Pool sounds identical to Fox News. There's like no difference. He's like not at all different. If he ever has an audience member who tells the truth, he does the same thing Fox does. They just yell over them and try to like stop you, say you're like deranged and stuff. So it's whatever. But my theory is that they almost just want people like that. It's like divide and conquer. Like, I'll give you another example of the Tim thing. Charlie Kirk called, I believe, and others were calling the mayor of Baltimore a DEI hire, right? Here's what I'm going to say. I'm not offended. I don't care. Like, words and jokes, it doesn't bother me. Personally, I don't go to Baltimore. It looks like a hellscape of a city. Like, there's, even Lamar Jackson couldn't make me want to go to Baltimore. So I don't give a shit about Baltimore. No offense, but it seems like a trash city. With that being said, he's not a DEI hire. He got elected because people voted for him. And also the demographics politically and racially of the city are allowing Democrats to get voted. So it's not DEI. He's not a diversity hire. He won because people vote Democrat in that city. If you call everything a diversity hire, no one's going to believe you anymore. And then the word means nothing. It's like calling everybody racist. Like, you got to stick to actual diversity hires. I'm against DEI because actual DEI is taking someone that is less qualified than someone else because of the color of their skin, but only for certain groups, not for other groups. And it's completely lopsided, and there's double standards. And that's my opposition to it. But with that being said, like, when I talk about DEI, I'm going to mean it and show proof and be honest about it. If I'm just calling every black person or every black hire DEI, now people are going to say that you're racist, which you're not. You're just wrong. You're just lying. I don't think Charlie Kirk's a racist. I just think he's a cheap opportunist who will use anything for a moment and a click, just like Tim Pool. Does Tim Pool really like when women get punched in the face by criminals? Yeah, maybe yes. And he's a demon, a beanie demon that, digs tunnels like Diglett, or he's lying for engagement. But either way, it's like, I'll be divisive. I'll get people pissed off so they click, and I'll just laugh like I'm 5 years old. How is that helping anything, though? You're almost proving the other people right, that you are a piece of garbage, which I get why people don't like Charlie and Tim Pool, because I don't really like them. I don't hate them or anything, but it's like, I find them both, their personalities are not, they're not charming. They're not friendly. I would say Charlie has a slightly better personality than Tim Pool just by default, because Tim Pool sucks. But it's like, he's not fun to listen to. He talks down to all of his hosts that are smarter and more honest than them. He's super condescending. He's super rude. He's super obnoxious. He's not, like, his energy is so off. And Charlie, same thing. It's like, I almost feel like that's their role. It's like, if they can just make the left hate them, and then the right just hates the left, then the politicians just do whatever they want, and nobody realizes that both parties are controlled. And a lot of Republicans do realize that the Republican Party is controlled, but they don't even realize how controlled it is, because all you got to do is get a Charlie Kirk type figure to say, oh, Trump is the best and all the rhinos hate Trump. And then you go, oh yeah, it's everyone but Charlie Kirk and Trump. It's like, I'm not trying to be a downer, but what if I told you they were kind of in on it too? Trump passes speech laws for his donors. Charlie Kirk says nothing about it, in my view, for his donors. And then Ben Shapiro calls everybody the word of the hate speech while firing anybody or blacklisting anybody who knows it. You get what I'm saying? So, and calling them the names that he knows are going to be used against them. And then he says he's not doing it. So it's like, it's not just the rhinos. Like everybody knows now, all you have to do is say, oh, Trump, 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 the rhinos suck. And then people will like think that you're so different, but they're really not that different. So my kind of theory that I'm thinking now is, I don't know if it's just money or power or whatever, but it seems like a concerted effort. It's like, how are people going to learn unless you tell them the truth? What are you going to do? Just say, I like when women get punched in the face. And you know what happened when Tim tweeted that? He makes more money because he gets more clicks. And clearly that's all he cares about. Even conservative women were disgusted by that. Like I saw a lot of conservative women where they're like, this is like, I live in New York City and I'm conservative and I have to be here. I don't really want to be here, but like, it's just it's a tweet that's self-serving that makes people on the right not like you, people on the left not like you. It's the perfect tool. Same with Charlie when he calls everything a DEI hire. DEI is real, but the mayor isn't DEI. So then it creates this proxy war, right? Charlie calls the mayor of, by the way, I think the mayor of Baltimore sucks. I think Democrats suck. They can't run their cities. I do think it's a shithole city. And I think he's a bad mayor. And I'm not, this is not a defense of what he's doing. It's just like, he's a Democrat who didn't get hired by DEI. He got hired because the racial and political demographics of that city are going to vote for a Democrat every time. It's not DEI. He got duly elected, as he said, which is actually true. I don't think Charlie Kirk's a racist, which he's calling Charlie Kirk, but it's like, do you see what I'm saying? Charlie lies about him. He responds and lies about Charlie, and then the left and the right bicker over it. The left says Charlie's a racist. It's not true. The right says Charlie's right. It's also not true. Like, he's not wrong, but he's not wrong to say that mayor sucks, but he is wrong to say that it was a DEI hire, because it wasn't. So it's like now everyone will fight over this topic for 4 days, and that's Charlie Kirk's role, to just get everyone to fight over something that doesn't matter, take all the arrows, because they know that Charlie will never go to certain topics. Same with Tim. I've watched him act hysterical when anybody brings up Israel's influence in American politics, which is just obvious. Doesn't mean you have to think this or this. It's just a thing that he talks about on his show. He goes nuts. Like, he literally loses it and like he sounds like a Fox News host. Like, if you tell the truth on Fox News, they cut you off and go, anyway, we gotta go commercial break, and you're like, whoa, that was great. Like, you ever seen them just like cut the feed or something? They got like a real person on CNN, they cut the feed and they're like, oh, what do you know? We just lost Jeremy, who is telling the truth about the deep state. Anyway, let's go to the pharmaceutical ad. That's who Tim Pool is. Like, he does that anytime anyone talks about these topics. Charlie Kirk smears everybody every time they talk about these topics. He covers up these topics. Ben Shapiro smears people who talk about these topics. Matt Walsh doesn't talk about it because he's afraid of being smeared by Ben Shapiro. Like, this is what conservative media is. So I just have to wonder, it's like, are they tweeting these things to be funny and edgelords? And it's like, what type of edgelord will joke about women getting punched in the face, but won't talk about foreign lobbyists in American politics? And that's their line, where it's like, haha, women get punched in the face, I'm an edgelord. It's like, all right, Tim, let's have a reasonable discussion about, America's ally that we give hundreds of billions of dollars to taxpayers in, and let's talk about it. No. Like, he starts losing it and going crazy. And, I've seen all of them do that. They all do that. They all have the same line, because it's like, I don't know if they'll call this hate speech, but it's like, that's where the money is. And I'm not saying they're specifically being paid by people to do this. I'm just saying it's like, Matt Walsh knows what would affect his income. Charlie Kirk knows who his donors are and knows what would affect his income. Tim Pool knows what's the most risky for him to do in these Republican circles, so he doesn't go there. And that's the game that they're all playing. So I just really have to wonder, are they doing it just because they've lost touch with like anything, and it's like they're just around conservatives all the time where this type of stuff is cool? Or is it a concerted effort to just constantly have fights and drama over stuff that doesn't matter, so conservatives and Republicans never get to the core of the argument? It's like, I'm not really sure. Let me know what you guys think. I'll read a few comments and I'll probably talk a little more, and then I'll try to keep this one pretty brief. Took me a little while to get started today. I want to say this too, is like, I feel strongly about this, and this is not just like a cop out, but Tim talks about civil war sometimes, and like, he just says, oh, civil war. I understand, like, the country's falling apart. It's not like out of the realm of possibilities. But with that being said, sometimes people will pop in my comments and they'll be like, yo, people need to do this, or like, like, oh, this is corruption. Like, we really got to do something. It's not, you don't have to do like, I'm not like the right to a legal militia exists, and like the Second Amendment exists, but I'm talking about like there's no up in arms moment because like people are too fake and stupid to realize what's going on. So like all you have to do is like the internal revolution is just you figuring out what's right. If people figured this stuff out and just peacefully challenged these news hosts, they wouldn't be able to do it. But it's like everyone's always so riled up and so angry. Oh, I got to do something about it. What, get set up by the feds? Like go to some doofy protest that does nothing? Like that's not the real revolution. Like it's not, we don't live in 1776 right now. And we don't have, like, I'm sure at that time they actually had a team that wasn't not on their team. Now your team's not even your team. So it's like it's like a mental and a spiritual revolution. Once you figure out the truth, just being brave and honest is the revolution. It's like there's so many people following people that they're brave for sure, but they're not honest. They're not real. They're fake opposition. And it's like their job is to rile up conservatives and rile up liberals. So you fight over nothing. So the elites do whatever they want. And nobody ever figures it out. So it's like, don't fall for that trap, because once you figure out what's going on, you're not going to want to like freak out, because there's no one to freak out with, because all these leaders that claim to be on your side, they're not really on your side, you know? So it's like, it's why like January 6th was a Fed trap. It's like, I didn't know it was going to be beforehand. I thought it was just going to be a Trump rally in DC, but I'm not surprised. Like I didn't know it was going to be that, but once it all happened and like how it all played out, I can't say I'm like completely shocked, because you got the QAnon people there. Like what, dude, any Q event is going to be a setup. I'm not saying everyone's in on it, but it's just like the whole thing is like fantasizing that Donald Trump is hiring the deep state to fight the deep state, and like they're going to get arrested and the cops are for you and Trump's the secret president. Now the whole thing is like a psyop. So it's like any event that's luring these people in, telling them that something's going to happen that's not, it's, you know, it's not going to be a place you need to be, because there's nothing great going on there. So, you know, I just want to let people know, because there's so many influencers that I see that are trying to rile people up, and it's like, it doesn't work like that. Like if everyone just stopped lying to themselves, the country would be healed tomorrow. If everyone just, you know, if Republicans actually believed in free speech, we would have more of it. We don't not have it just because of the left. The left is doing that, and the right is also doing it. It's the old analogy. I don't know who made it or whatever, but it's like, say the wrong way to go is that way, and the left wing is paddling 50 miles an hour in that direction. You think the right wing is paddling the other way and they're losing the fight, right? That's what everyone thinks. The left's pushing us there, but we got these people like Trump and Charlie Kirk and Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro that are trying to push us in the other way. What if I told you they were rowing in the same direction as the liberals were rowing? They're just not telling you about it, you know? So it's like the reason we're flying that way is because the opposition is not going in the direction you think they're going. They're going in the direction. Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, they're not outwardly like, I don't believe in free speech, but like the left at least tells you to your face that they don't believe in it. It's the right that is doing it, but they're not telling you, and they're stopping people from knowing. So it's like, that's why things are going so crazy. Yes, the left is ruining everything and their cities suck and they don't know how to do anything. But you think these right-wing people are trying? I don't think they're trying. I think they're rowing in the other direction. Someone said, as an older black woman from Mississippi, that man is one of the best racists, hands down, but at least he's honest. Who's the best racist? I'm not sure who you're talking about, but God bless. We got some older folk in Mississippi. We like that. Anomaly has a diverse crowd. You already know. We do we do numbers here around the world. Has Anomaly talked about Walsh's tweet? Yeah, I did earlier. You're gonna have to rewind. Someone said QAnon is like Operation Trust. Absolutely. I've talked about it, but there's a book. It's called I have it on the bookshelf. I'm trying to look. New Lies for the Old. And it was literally a Bolshevik counterintelligence operation. They literally said, we told patriots and nationalists and people against communism to trust the military generals. They had generals that were working with the communists, but because they were generals, they were trusted by nationalists and patriots. And they had those generals tell people, just wait, don't believe your eyes. It's what you think is happening. It's like 1984. They say, don't believe your eyes and ears, like believe the government. You know, QAnon is like the same type of psyop where it's like, don't believe your eyes and ears, believe what you want to happen. And that serves to make people not do anything. And I'm not saying to do something crazy, but I'm talking about like, if you say, hey, Trump, Stop selling the vaccine. Stop selling out the First Amendment. Like, dude, stop hiring the swamp. Then Trump has more incentive to not do it. If his people are like, oh my gosh, he's a secret genie. He's a beanie genie who came from the planet Pluton with RFK senior, junior, resurrected from the grave as his vice president. Like, that's Operation Trust, where it's like he has no incentive to stop scamming you because you don't believe your own eyes and your own ears. Like, you believe the Operation Trust, which is like military generals and people that pretend to be telling you to not believe what you see. Like, I don't believe Donald Trump is the president. There's a debate to be had with whether he should have been in office after 2020, but to act like he is the president now, like he's calling the shots, it is like, honestly, like a mental illness. Like, they're like, no. He's in charge. He's in control. He's not, though. The military is in control. They're not, though. We're funneling money to Ukraine and Israel and fighting multiple proxy wars, and the military does what the high-level people do. And the high-level people are probably getting led by people like Anthony Blinken and others. I don't know who the military general is at the time. I forget his name, but it's like, that's who's leading the military. I love the military, but it's like Trump's not in charge and the military's not in charge. Someone's in charge of the military, and it's not Trump right now. So like, but if you don't believe your own eyes, you just start spiraling. But it's not, the whole QAnon thing is not new. It's literally copy paste Operation Trust out of counterintelligence Bolshevik propaganda. And it's not hard to figure out why it works so well. Because if you had 100 million patriots who knew that their own team was scamming them, you could put up your hand and say, stop scamming me, Shapiro. Stop scamming me, Donald Trump. Stop it. Stop passing speech laws, Ron DeSantis. We don't have a movement like that. We have a bunch of ops or people who act like ops. So it's like, you have the trust the planners. You have the people that call everything hate speech. You have you have all of these media companies that are basically there to funnel your support to a foreign country. Like, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful, because I think PragerU does a lot of good work. And I know people who've worked there, and, I have nothing really bad to say about PragerU. They've done some incredible work. But who's the CEO of who's the CEO of PragerU? It's not Dennis Prager. It's somebody who worked in military intelligence, and not military intelligence for the United States of America, for another country. Look it up. So when that's the line being drawn in conservative media, it's not hard to figure out why that's the line that's being drawn, the line of Candace Owens, the things that Matt Walsh doesn't want to say, the things that Tim Pool, and I'm not saying PragerU, like Tim has nothing to do with PragerU, but I'm just saying everyone in conservative media is operating off of the same standards, and it's not coincidental. So the best thing you could possibly do would be like, make everybody just trust a plan, like that's even dumber than just like believing Ben Shapiro or something. It's like trusting the plan of Trump. It's creating like a religion around idol worship of a politician. And in order to be loyal to that idol worship fake religion, you have to not believe your own eyes and ears for a theory that you heard from an anonymous podcaster that doesn't even show his face. Like, it's crazy. So I'm not trying to be mean or rude or anything. It's like the reason the country's failing is because the left sucks. They're ideologically confused, and the right is fake. It's not the right's real and the left's fake. The left is destroying everything. The right is pretty much letting them do it, playing along, blacklisting anybody who knows this, who doesn't do what they want them to do, that has nothing to do with America. That it's like, when I think people are figuring out. So I'm not going to say when are people figuring out, because yesterday everyone's figuring out. Like, everyone knows now. So, someone said, anomaly, are you a Judas goat? No, but I'm not going to just sit here and tell you why I'm not. It's just like, use your common sense, use your intuition. I don't know. I forget who even said the comment, but like, God put you on this earth to live your life. So I'm a political analyst, right? I'm a hip hop artist. I'm a news commentator. Your job is not to listen to every single thing that I like. Your job is to live your life, take care of yourself, crush it, be a good American, enjoy yourself, do something meaningful. Like, that's, your opinion of me, it shouldn't dictate your life either way. Even if you thought I was something that I'm not, I'm not starting a religion here. I'm not leading, I'm not asking people to go to places. I'm just asking people to think about this, and I'm showing proof of what I'm saying. And then I trust not everybody, because not everyone can get it, but like, I trust people to figure it out on their own. I'm not just saying things blindly. It's like, this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. Here's the proof. If you can't figure it out, I don't know what to tell you. But I'm not asking people to like follow me anywhere. I mean, I appreciate a follow on social media, but I'm not asking you to like, I'm not Judas goading you into the wilderness or anything. Someone said Anomaly's just a good guy caught up with the Illuminati. Why do you think I'm caught up with the Illuminati, though? I'm not. First of all, I think Illuminati is kind of like an old phrase. I'm not saying they don't exist or never existed, but it's kind of like an ancient phrase that like no one high level even really talks about. But I'm just curious. I don't know. Why do you think I'm caught up with the Illuminati? It's just funny. Someone said real, recognize real. Illuminati. That's a good one. Someone said, I voted for Trump, but probably will cause what. I'm not telling people to not vote. I'm just saying pay attention. The vote only does so much. And I will say this. I wouldn't even say it's a prediction because it's literally happening, but Trump is not as unpopular as he was with other donors and stuff because Biden is not supporting the foreign country that totally has no power or whatever. There's a lot of people who want Trump to get in now. There's a lot of donors. There's a lot of elites. They want Trump because Trump's going to allow other countries to do more stuff. So I don't think he's like a huge threat like people think he is. I think there's a lot of people, like a lot of powerful and wealthy people now want Trump over Biden because Biden is a fence sitter when it comes to Israel. And Trump is definitely more, open to just letting them do whatever they want, in my opinion. Let me see. Someone said, good work, caveman. I like that you call me a caveman. It's pretty funny. Someone said, my question would be, how does this country turn around? People just gotta, I think, wake up to what's going on. But waking up isn't becoming like a Republican and voting. Like, it's deeper than just that. So once enough people get it, public perception can turn. I'm going to read this real quick. I got a $50 super chat, so I got to read it. But I want to say this real quick before I read it. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I got you. It's like a lot of people are stubborn on both sides, and like they're so close, but they're not close enough. The speech thing is the easiest thing. It's like if you think only the left is selling it out, but the right also is, and you can't figure it out, you're never going to get free speech because the right's literally selling it out. And they've been doing it for 5 years now. This is the first time I've ever seen anyone care about it. That's why I'm talking about it so much, because I knew this was happening 5 years ago and no one cared. Now they care. Like, that's what's going to happen. Things are going to get weirder, more obvious. People are going to figure it out. And then hopefully things shift. But that's just my opinion. It's like liking Trump and being a Republican and listening to these like boomer Republican, blah, 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 blah. That's not waking up, and that's not enough. Like, people got to get out of that mindset and figure out a little bit more. That's my view. Randy's with a huge super chat. Thank you. Randy's 42 Gaming. Hey, bro, I'm a little behind on videos. You make work go by. Thanks, man. Sorry if you've covered it, but have you heard about the 3 red heifers? And maybe that's why Hamas attacked. I haven't. No, I've not heard about that. But with the October 7th thing, like I didn't really, obviously I talked about it when it happened, but I'm not trying to talk out my ass. So it's like, I'm not going to make up theories that I can't really prove. And it's like, I try to know what I'm talking about. That's why when I have opinions on stuff, like whether I'm talking about Peterson, whatever, I'm not trying to be rude or mean, but I'm like, I do have a strong opinion because I believe what I'm saying is true. And there's enough evidence for me to feel comfortable with it. For October 7th and why it happened or something happened before or after, it's like all I know is what I read and what I like, what I hear. So it's like, it's easier. I don't know if this sounds weird, but it's easier for me to know when people are lying than when they're telling the truth. Because with like, say like Alan Dershowitz, when he goes on television, he says, they're all kind of pro Hamas because they voted for Hamas. It's like, I know that's a lie because it's not like, oh, they're all against it or anything completely. But like the election was in 2004. So it's like justifying killing kids because of a 2004 election is insane. Like, I don't know the 100% of the truth of what's going on in Israel and Palestine, but I know that that's crazy logic. Like, do you think that because we have Biden here, like that everyone's responsible for it, or, and that's a recent election, not a 2004 election. So when it comes to foreign countries and these type of wars, like I guess like here's what I'll say too is like I follow a lot of people that are like way more pro Palestine, and they're always retweeting like stories and stuff sad and videos, and I try to like avoid sad videos. I know some people think that's probably like not a good move, but that's just personal preference. But it's like I don't just believe everyone in Palestine just because I know that certain people on the Israel side are lying. It's like they could trick me too. They could use my emotion and bias to, or vice versa. So I feel like if you have an Israel bias, you're going to believe everything that Israel says. And if you have a Palestinian bias, you'll believe everything that Palestine says. But it doesn't mean everything that both sides are saying is true. So I try to, with that sort of stuff, it's like I'm not going to crack the code of the theory of October 7th. So why should I even go there if I'm not going to fully know what I'm talking about and try to like say theories of how do I know this? Because I saw it on Twitter and someone said this. I don't see the reason for me to do that. I'm not saying no one should. And if people really know more and they could do a full report and speak the truth that no one's speaking, that's honorable. I don't, it's not really for me, or it's not something that I see what's going on. I see how many people are dying. I don't know what you were referring to, but I could look into it after this video. That word that you wrote, I don't even know what that means. So I would have to like educate myself on what that means. But here's what I will say, and this is not justifying anything, because a lot of what's going on is completely unjustifiable. They've been fighting for a long time. It's not to say that wasn't an escalation, but it's like with Ukraine, it's the same thing. I'm not justifying Putin invading because I don't think it's the right move. But to say that was the first war move that's ever happened, it's just not true. And I'm not justifying Russia or whatever. It's just like the amount of moves America was making in Ukraine beforehand was too much, in my opinion. So I love America, but that's just the truth. So with Israel and Palestine, I'm not justifying the attack that, the person who interviewed Candace said is the saddest attack or the worst attack in human history. And you're anti-Semitic if you don't agree that that's the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone. Like, it was horrific. But those two countries in that situation have been fighting not this severely. This is obviously a huge escalation, and I'm not justifying it, but it's not a real news reporting if you just say that just happened. Like, and with the hostages and stuff, of course I want hostages to be freed, but it's like, who took is that the first hostage ever taken? America has hostages in other countries. Like, who's telling the real story and who's being completely honest? Then I'll want to listen to them. But a lot of people aren't being real. Like, I haven't done research to figure out how many hostages from Palestine that Israel has. Russia has American hostages right now. Does that mean we should just go bomb 10,000 kids or something, or civilians in Russia because they have our hostages? Like, war is disgusting. War doesn't really have fair rules. And, when I talk about it, I like to be honest. And it's like, I just can tell when people are bullshitting. So I can't solve the mystery of like, that attack. And it's not really a territory that I want to go into, because it's like, if I'm ever going to talk about stuff like that, I'm going to be 1,000% sure. You're saying it's a female cow? Yeah, I know nothing about that. But someone said, educate yourself after 6 months. Gee, I've seen a lot of stuff, but it's like, I don't like, what do you want me to say? What would like blow your mind and be super honest? Like, I get what's going on is immoral. I've spoken about it. I've said my opinion about it, but do you want me to, I don't get it. Talk about a female cow or something? Like, a female cow was the reason that they attacked. I'm not saying it's not true. It's just like, you're just losing me. I don't know. It's like, if I don't talk about the female cow, I'm a shill or something. Like, it's just like, what is that going to do for anyone? They purchased them from Texas. Like, I don't even get what you guys are talking about, but I got to look into it after the show. If you're going to just try to tell me on the show, it's going to get weird, because I'm going to be like, what? My super chat cleared the bank. Did you get it? Don't want to be douchey, but someone got it. I hope so. I don't know. Do you want me to scroll up? Did you do it this show? I read the guy talking about the heifers or whatever, but I don't know if I saw yours. Sorry. Oh, it's part of a prophecy. I get what you're saying. So I see that they're building an altar. I mean, I could talk about this angle of it because I understand it a little. Like there's not just people in Israel, but there are like Zionist Christians where I do believe that they are trying to fulfill a biblical prophecy themselves. Which is crazy because some people will think it's the Antichrist, others will think it's Mashiach, and then I don't know, and then there's Christians who think that it's really happening and others who think it's like not really happening and it's being like artificially pushed. But I did see that they're building some sort of altar. So it's not out of the realm that they're doing that stuff, because there are people in Israel and in the Catholic Christian world who are trying to, basically like create a biblical prophecy themselves and a story themselves. I guess the question you have to answer is it the real one or is it not? Because there's always going to be deceivers and people that are trying to use biblical stories to their advantage. And I mean, that's the whole, I would say, Christian debate over Israel. Is a lot of people think that it's the biblical Israel. Other people say the biblical Israel is the church and that's not the real, so it's like, it's getting into that territory for sure. Someone said, oh, it's happening. Yeah, I'm sure they are doing that stuff. It's pretty crazy. Someone said trying to troll Anomaly with the Trump comment. Didn't even see it, but what do I think about the NASA shooting rockets at the eclipse? Dude, I got to do I was going to cover that today, but I felt behind where I'm like, I got to do more research to really cover that story. I heard about that. I read a little bit about it and I saw that they're like warning people. It's very odd because there's going to be a solar eclipse of some sort or a lunar eclipse, and it's going to block, I guess it's a solar eclipse, right? Because it's going to block the sun. But anyway, it says it's going to go dark for a little bit. And then also it says that, people are going to be overwhelmed and they think there might be problems in the cities because they think people are going to go to the cities to watch it. Something is weird there. I'm not going to like talk out of my ass on this one, but like something seems off. Like I don't trust it. I'm not afraid of it or paranoid, but the warnings that I'm seeing and the way that they're saying the cities are going to, like, is this the only time people have come to a city? Does New York City get overwhelmed for, what New Year's Eve? Like everyone goes to New York City. Like it's not a Super Bowl in a city. Like, is this the only time cities ever have huge crowds? Something seems off. Like they're like, this is going to be crazy. It's like, dude, I don't think that many people give a shit about this thing that it's going to be like bigger than a Super Bowl, bigger than New Year's Eve. Like maybe they just want to prepare themselves. I don't know. But at this point, unfortunately, I don't trust anything I read or hear from the government. It's not like I hate them or anything. It's just like, do I trust them to just be doing the right thing for people? No. It's like, I don't think they're up to anything that bad, but it's like, we're just going to spray the sky to make it rain for your health, but we're going to spray things that we're going to admit on Google are not healthy. It's like, you trust us, right? And I'm like, no, not at all. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist? No. Oh, you're making stuff up? No. And this is the problem with the lunar and solar eclipse stuff too, is there's a few accounts that I'll like. I've seen this guy on Instagram. I got to find his actual name so I could give him credit. He does a really good job. Like, I love people that are just really honest and they get to like what the real story is. And then it's like, here's the story. Here's what it could be. But here's the story. Nobody ever does that anymore. It's always like they got to take the story in 15,000 directions, like there's the real story, tell the real story. And then you could say it could be this, or this, but I'm going to be honest that this is the story, but it could be other things. Everyone, like some people will just tell their theory as the story with no proof, and they'll just read it wrong completely, where it's like, that's not what's happening now. So with stuff like that, I've already heard 4 things with the solar eclipse where like, it could be that something's definitely up. But do you remember the one guy that was telling everybody that like, some crazy thing was going to happen when our phones did that thing? I'm not saying it was normal because it was odd and I was skeptical and I did take precautions, not like run in a bunker, but I didn't want my phone near my face or anything. I didn't want to hear the sound. But he made this crazy fake theory and everyone believed it, because I think that's part of social media is, if you're not giving people the craziest theory, they get bored of you. It's like, what's your theory about Trump and this and that? It's like, here's mine. It's like, well, this person says that Trump is an underground wizard with a staff, and Barron Trump is 11 feet tall, and he came from the heavens like Jack and the Beanstalk to plant QAnon. And actually, it's Chrissy Teigen who's going to get arrested on the Capitol because the police are on our side. And I'm like, wait, you think the Capitol Police are on your side in a Democrat city? Yeah, for sure. It's like, no. And they're like, oh, you don't believe that? So it's like that's like an issue, I think, in the social media age. Is like, it's good that everyone has an opinion. I'm not saying, oh, you should only trust the experts, because the experts are lying. So it's better now. It's better that everyone has an opinion, because at least you could weed through the bullshit and find the truth, because you used to not be able to do that. So I'm not asking for only experts, because anybody who says it's only the experts are probably not the experts. They're probably the biggest liars out there. It's like I probably agree with QAnon people on not everything, but it's like, even though I think they're wrong about most things, it's like, does that mean Anthony Fauci's so amazing? Or like, you get what I'm saying? But I do think that that is one of the issues with everyone having an opinion, is that now when something happens, there's 10,000 different theories and nothing can ever get done about the real thing because everyone's got these side theories. And also, I think one problem with social media is, same with me. It's like, say you're on Twitter, right? Or Facebook, or one of these websites, even like Instagram, in the story, you could type what you're thinking. Like, everyone has thoughts all day, right? Like, if I have a cup of coffee or a latte or whatever, I'll have like 100 thoughts. It's not like I'm thinking one. It's like, psh, psh, psh. It's like, what do I want to tell the world? And then sometimes I delete it, and people are like, why'd you delete it? It's like, why am I saying this? Like, obviously I speak publicly for a living, but it's like, do I need to say this at 9 a.m.? Do I do I have to have an opinion at Jordan Peterson right now? Does it make sense? And then I say it and someone's like, oh, well, this, and this. And it's like, on Saturdays and Sundays, if you notice, I don't really tweet that much anymore. I try to take the days off and just talk about fighting or other stuff, because it's like, you don't need to tell everyone what you're thinking all the time. It's not healthy. And it's also not healthy to read what everyone's thinking all the time. So I'm not complaining, but these are things just for everyone's mental health you got to be aware of, because there's a lot of blessings of social media when it comes to news and information, but there's also a lot of overwhelming aspects to it that are not natural. And it's like, I probably have 20,000 thoughts a day. Like, dude, no one needs to hear all this, and like, same with you. It's not that I'm a bad person, but it's like, I'll probably think 40 things in the next 3 minutes. Like, it's like, oh, what am I going to eat? This and that. This, it's like, you got to tweet them all, every meal, take a picture of it, take a selfie. Like, it's like people are driving themselves crazy out here. So I see those as like two problems with it, but there's good things about it too. I just notice that there's always like a theory that goes like so much further than what it is, and then it stops anyone from actually figuring out. I don't know what to do about it though. Male Shark, come on, bro. Don't do that to me. Mark said, I hope you have a blessed Easter, man. Appreciate you. Someone said, anomaly, what's wrong with the CIA? Why are they so stupid? I don't know that they're stupid. I don't know what they're doing. Like, are they trying to help America? Are they infiltrating countries? Are they pushing propaganda to make everyone dumb and gay? I'm not like, someone would have to educate me on what they're actually doing. But someone said, oh, red heifers are in the Bible. It's prophecy from Revelation. I got you now. Yeah, I understand that there are some Israelis and Christians that are kind of like working together to try to fulfill biblical prophecies. Not all, but in the Jewish religion, they believe Moshiach is going to come to earth as like the human solver of problems of some sort. As someone Jewish would have to explain it better, because I don't really know. But Moshiach is their like, that's the guy that's going to crush. And then in Christianity, I think they think the Antichrist is going to do that. So I don't know if this is completely true, but like, it feels like the Mashiach for Judaism is the story of Antichrist in the Bible. But I'm not out here building altars and bringing cows places. So it's a little above my pay grade. What's up, Sarah? Nettie said, Anali, I appreciate everything you do when it comes to politics talking. I want to say have a wonderful Easter. I appreciate you. Have a happy Good Friday, happy Easter, and anyone celebrating anything else, God bless you too. What kind of sandwich would you eat with Ron Paul? Is that like a trick question or something? What type of sandwich would I eat with Ron Paul? Do you want to play this game? Like, where would we be? Like at a deli? Like what type of restaurant? First of all, are you trying to be gay or something? I don't get it. Like, is this like a code? If you're coding me, if you're trying to make an example out of me, just stop. I'm not gonna fall for these tricks. If you're being serious, I'll answer the question because I do love sandwiches. But let's not go there. Someone said we don't get our beliefs from the evening news. That's probably for your health. Someone said, "Oh my." Yeah, oh my is right. I don't know where he's going. It's code. Yeah, I gotta be careful. Like people try to set me up sometimes. I mean, they're not always trying to or anything. I'm not paranoid, but like they're like, they're sometimes people are trying to get me to do some weird stuff, read some stuff. I'm not trying to, one wrong word, I could ruin my whole career. So I gotta be careful on these live streams. That's how it is nowadays. You make one wrong turn and it's cancel month, I think I've already been canceled, just not overtly, I mean, they've tried, but it's been like behind the scenes and then it's been out in the open. So it's like, I'm not, I'm already getting canceled for things that I actually believe and say. The last thing I need is to get canceled for something I didn't mean to do, because then I'll really be sorry and apologize because I messed up. But all right. Do I watch Tim in real life for the guest? Never. No joke. I don't think I've ever watched Timcast. I just see clips on Twitter. Maybe once I watched for like one guest. And I'm not just saying that. Like I can't stand Tim. I never really liked him, but like I was excited to chat with him just to see how he was in person. After what went down, it just made me realize that my instincts were right. But no, it's not a show that I enjoy because I feel like none of them are really that smart or honest there. And then when the guest is smart or honest, Tim just talks condescendingly to him. So I can't watch, but I'll see some clips on like Twitter and I'll react to that. But it's hard to I had to watch the Ye episode for sure. And then I was kind of annoyed because after he left, Luke was saying, and me and Luke are cool now, that's my guy. Not like we're not best friends or anything, but if we met in person, we'd be cool. I like Luke. I don't hate him. He really annoyed me because Ye left, and then he kept saying that like Ye was like damaged from the pills and stuff. And I was like, dude, it's one thing to say that like he shouldn't have left or whatever, you think he's wrong, but to go and say he's like damaged from pills, like I don't think Ye left because he's damaged from pills. I think he left because you and Tim are annoying as shit. Like it's like he's pill damaged. Like, oh yeah, if you don't want to hang out with Tim, you must be on pills. It's like, no, maybe you're sober and healthy and you just realize Tim's a little turd. Like, I don't want to hang out with him either. So that kind of annoyed me, but we're cool now. Me and Tim. I don't even like hate Tim, or me and Luke, I meant. I don't hate Tim. He's just like annoying and cringe. Someone said, I guess I'm pilled out then. It's like, if you don't like me, you must be on drugs. Dude, I want to think that way. That's really like egotistical. Dude, everybody loves me. And if they don't love me, they must be drug addicts. Like, you're like, are you sure? No one. That's like when Jeremy Boring said that he couldn't think of one person that wasn't anti-Semitic that is critical of Israel further than he wants them to be. He couldn't name one. That's kind of like saying that. It's like everyone who disagrees with me is hateful on this topic. Like, I don't believe that on any topic. Obviously, I think I'm right about what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say people who disagree with me are as right as me. I mean, there's probably people that are better than me at a lot of topics, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not pathological enough to say if you disagree with me on this topic and go further than me, everyone who goes further than me has to be hateful. There's no other reason that they could go further. What if it's their personal experience? What if they know more? What if they know less? Like, what if they have a different angle or have a, something that like, that's like such a crazy way to think. Like everyone who doesn't agree with me on this topic just must hate an entire group of people. There's no other explanation. It's like, shut up, Jeremy. You're such a fraud. Stop lying. Hannah Banana said, "Hey, Anomaly, when things die down, can you get Candace back on your show?" Yeah, sure. Just remember though, I will have Candace on my show again because I'm not going to bow down to media pressure. But when I have Candace on my show, just wait for the media articles. They are going to rail me. They're going to try to rail me. No, I'm not that type of rail. This ain't a Diddy party. Just kidding. But yeah, it's going to be crazy. Anytime I get any interview now, the people that must not be named are going to just like lie about me forever. And then they're going to like freak out if I respond and say like, stop doing that. They're gonna be like, oh, you hate everybody? And I'm like, no, you're just lying about me constantly. They're like, oh my gosh, you're so hateful. You're so hateful. And then Jeremy Boring will be like, technically, hypothetically, you could not be hateful, but I think you're hateful. Shut up, Jeremy. This is what's going to go on for like, they're always going to name them. Well, I can name the specific news organizations, but it's like what, I would consider it Zionist media. Not all media is Zionist and not all Zionist media is bad. Or I'm not saying that. It's just like, that's the media companies that lie about me. Cause if you don't want to push anti-First Amendment, anti-Semitism laws, they just call you anti-Semitic for the rest of your life. And they think that'll make people like them. So then if people don't like that, it's not because they're wrong. It's because you're hateful. You understand? It's like they harass you constantly for being completely right about a topic and calm, hoping that you get upset so they could point to how upset you are. So I don't get upset anymore. I'm like, whatever, I get it. That's just how they want to act. It doesn't bother me anymore. But it's this weird like victim spiral where it's like they lie about you. You say they're lying. They freak out and say you attacked them. You say, no, I didn't. They say you did again. You're like, just tell the truth. They say that's hate speech. You're like, no, it's not. And then they say you're being hateful. And then they publish in 20 media companies that you're hateful under the guise of anti-Semitism while politicians pass anti-Semitism speech laws, and you get boxed out of conservative media and they blacklist you and don't tell you. So Tim Pool could fight with some liberal or something, or Destiny can debate, Dave Rubin and, Jordan Peterson for 3 hours at 5 years late or whatever. So I get it. But yeah, I'll interview Candace. Just watch what the media does. They're going to go nuts because they're such just nice, honest people, right? There's no other explanation. If you don't like how they write articles and you don't like how much they lie, you must just be hateful. You're just like a really hateful person, That's the only, it's never any like self-accountability at all. Even with like Twitter, like I don't engage because I like people on both sides of the argument. I think, people just get lost in the sauce. But, I follow some people that I like that think everything's anti-Semitic, and like I'm watching how they're responding. Of course, there's people that are in their comments being dicks and stuff, but it's like their interpretation of what's going on is so skewed because they take no self-accountability and have no self-awareness. So they're like starting the story from somewhere where it didn't start, and then they're spiraling and freaking out that people don't agree with them. But it's like they're missing the point where it's like, I'll give you an example because I thought of it the other day, and it's like, imagine if like I'm part Italian. Just imagine I'm 100% Italian. I start calling everybody who disagrees with like my foreign policy anti-Italophobe. You're an anti-Italophobe. And then I pass anti-Italophobe speech laws to pass only laws for Italy and Italians. And then anytime you question those speech laws that only existed for me, I just said you hated all Italians all the time and then spiraled on Twitter and said you're just so hateful. Would that make you like me? You would know. You'd be like, yo, Anomaly is so sneaky. He's so dishonest. He's such a scammer. He's literally selling out the Constitution and then crying hate when people notice he like that wouldn't make you like me or my ethnicity or the country at all. Like it would only make you not like it more because it's just so fake. I mean, this is what's happening essentially. And like people just can't bring themselves to realizing that even an ounce of self-awareness and self-accountability would make the situation way better. So that's when I'm wondering, there's two options. One, they're just completely unaware of it and they're making the matters worse and they don't know it, which is possible. Or they're purposely doing it because the more people freak out or get upset, then the more they could push for more like, legislation and more restrictions and more money. It's like with certain racial activist groups, it's like, are they just really bad? It's like, is BLM really bad at stopping racism, or are they not even trying? It's hard to really tell with certain groups and certain people where it's like, I don't know who's doing what anymore. I don't, I think there's probably a lot of people in the organization that they think they're doing the right thing. And then there's some that probably know that they're not doing the right thing and they're just making money. It's just, I'm not God, so I can't tell exactly what they're doing. I have opinions on it, but only God knows, who's really doing what. But you could have a perspective on it. I know at a certain point in media, I know that Republicans know about certain topics because it's been brought up and they never really mention it. So it's someone said, I love how you explain topics and conversations. Thank you, Nettie. I appreciate it. Here's what I'll say too, because it's not like everybody has their own energy. I like certain styles that they're different than mine. But if you look at Tim Pool, his style is very not charming, not calm, very condescending, constantly attacky. And I'm not saying attacky in his tone, or I'm talking about he's just constantly he reminds me of a woodpecker chopping a tree. That's his energy. It is up. He's so aggressive, passive aggressive and annoying. And then it's like Charlie Kirk, same thing. It's not necessarily what he's saying all the time, but the energy of what he's saying is really attacking. It's really aggressive. And I'm just wondering if it's the same that I'm talking about other groups. I wonder if Christians, and I know Tim Pool is probably a beanie atheist or whatever, but if conservatives or Republicans or whatever you want to call this space, independent media, I'm wondering if they purposely elevate people like that, because people like that are very easy to hate, and people like that will never you don't listen. If you're on the fence about something, it's hard to listen to and be like, oh, that's right. It's very it's just very aggressive. I think in some ways they like that stuff. It's like having a Black activist leader who's just calm and reasonable. You don't see very many of those. I know they exist, but they're not getting elevated by Black Lives Matter and Shaun King type people. It's always the people that are aggressive and have double standards and are hypocrites and are annoying. And then you're like, oh, that's annoying. And then they say you hate them. I just notice these patterns where it's oh, because you're annoying, you think I hate all people of your race. It's not true. I don't hate any country or any. I've said this so many times. So many people hate. There's a lot of people on the Israel side that hate Palestinians. There's people on the Palestinian side that hate Israelis. There's people who hate Ukraine. There's a lot of these people that say you hate Ukraine. They hate Russians. It's all projection. I don't hate any country. I'm American, but I don't look at a country and be like, oh, everyone's bad from there. That's not true. So I'm not falling for the war propaganda. They want you to think that way so they can justify killing people in another country or supporting a war in another country. If you know the truth that it's not that's not how the world is. I have respect for Australians. You know what I'm saying? I think Chinese people are cool. Not all of them, a lot of them. But because there's a geopolitical war between China and America, I'm not Steve Bannon where I'm China, 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 China. Yeah, cool, bro. There's another country you never mentioned. I wonder why. But anyway, it's just I don't have beef with a billion Chinese people. What did they do to me? They have a government that competes with the United States of America. But I would argue that our own politicians have scammed us more than China has. So it's I don't buy into this thing where it's I don't want a billion Chinese people to hate me. I don't want Australians to hate me. I don't want people in Israel or Palestine to hate me. But it's eventually people are not going to like what you say if you speak the truth and they don't like it. But in general, I'm not buying into this construct of when people are like, oh, you hate this. I actually don't, though. But if you listen to these analysts who will say I'm being hateful, they seem really hateful. They seem angry and aggressive and nasty. It's the same with racial activists. They'll say I hate something because they're annoying. Meanwhile, they have racial hate in their heart. That's the projection tactics. The people with the most racial hate in their heart are constantly projecting onto others and trying to say you're being hateful for noticing how much they hate you. And so it's if you get upset, you're playing their game. I'm not an angry guy. I'm not trying to be upset. So sometimes people just want attention. If you don't give them attention, you just move on. It annoys them more than if you talk about them sometimes. So it's I've figured out the game, and I'm not that way. But I just noticed that even in conservative media, they elevate people that are just obnoxious and annoying. It's almost like they want people not to like us. When Tim tweets, oh, I want women to get punched in the face in New York City. I think it's funny or whatever. It's who is that helping besides Tim Pool's bank account? Because people are going to react to that. It's just it's a very childish thing to do. It's like being 5 years old and your mom or dad says, don't touch that. And you touch it. And they say, don't touch this thing in the store. And you knock down the the rack of like coats at like a JC Penney or something. It's like a 5-year-old tactic to be it's like, if you're that big of a troll and you're that big of a child, start a prank page or something, do like pranks in public like the other 5-year-olds, and like, that's what all the streamers do. They act like 5-year-olds. Like, it's like there's a market for that, but like, why bring that into politics? Why act like a 5-year-old streamer, like loser? It's like, but that's who they elevate because it creates all this tension. And if everyone wasn't creating all this tension all the time, these are not hard things to figure out, but it's hard for everyone to figure out because there's always so much hate for the other side. If you hate the left with all your heart because they're destroying America, you're going to be blinded by your hate, which is right wingers exist to blind you by your hate so they can scam you. Left wingers blind left wingers by the hate of right wingers so they could scam them. When it comes to Israel, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine, I'm one of the least hateful people out there, but they try to say I'm the most hateful because I just don't play along to the war narratives and the narratives of conservative media when they're objectively false and provably false, and when they infringe on the Constitution, which they absolutely are. And then they say I'm hateful. They say because I have this stance, I hate a whole race and a whole country. It's not true. But maybe it's projection. Maybe the people saying that because they hate certain people or they hate these, like, it's just like this stupid game that everybody's playing, and it's very tiring. But once you just brush it off and know who you are and you know that they're lying, everyone's catching on to the lies now. Like it's just getting obvious. So it's like I don't view either country like that, and that's why like I talk about Israel, Palestine, and the speech laws and stuff, but I don't believe everything I see on Twitter on either side. And it's like I'm just giving you an example. Say you don't trust Israel's government and say you think they're committing a genocide, like Joe Rogan said, and many have said. I'm not saying he's doing this. I'm just giving an example. And your bias is with Palestine because you think Israel's doing all this stuff. Does that mean every Palestinian who posts a Twitter has to be telling the truth with 100% accuracy? You don't think there's any groups or any people there trying to exploit your emotion and real tragedy to get you to believe a narrative that's not true for their advantage? Of course there will be. And also on the other side, it's happening all the time, but you're not allowed to say it's happening. So it's like, I just try to have my perspective on it, but I just don't like dive into every video I ever see reposting it. I'll give you an example. In America, there were 2 videos saying that the FBI came to people's house over a post. One claimed that the FBI came to their house over like a post about some black dude who committed a crime. I'm guessing they thought it was racist or something. And then the other one they said it was a pro-Palestine activist who had the FBI come to their house. Am I saying like it's not true? I don't know if it's true, but like everybody's retweeting it, but I just don't know if it's real or not yet. So I'm just being patient because it's like that could be great. Like America could be like Canada now, where the FBI shows up to your house over a post. It's not out of the realm. I'm sure it's happened before, but also I don't know. These videos could be just someone trying to go viral, and like because it was weird where like on one of them like they wouldn't show their badge, and sometimes they probably don't follow the law. Like it's I guess I'm just not in a huge rush to like pretend like I know what's going on. I don't see the reason for me to do that. Someone said Anomaly's quiet on Roseanne. I'm literally not quiet on Roseanne. People ask about her every show. I think she was taking a break and she just tweeted for the first time in 2 weeks yesterday. I've talked to her multiple times. We're friends. If you want to hear her opinion on a topic, watch her podcast. If you want to hear mine, watch mine. I don't speak like, I'm not her like PR firm or something. So I don't know what you want me to do or say. It's like she's her, I'm me. That's the way it works. Anomalies, please save me hours on the phone with the bank. Did you get my $50 or not? J Case, let me look in the back end. There's a way to look in the back end. If it's that big of a deal, I got you. Hold on. Let me look. Earn. How do I find this? Super chats. Sorry. J Case. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to read your. So I found a way to like retroactively find them. Mail Shark also said Diglett is a dork. Okay. Hold on. Hold on. JK's anomaly spitting fire on Friday. Let's go. Thanks for the hard work. I appreciate you. Thank you guys. Now I know how to go in the back end and look at it. So yeah, I did get it. Sorry. You could take it back if you want. You can take the money back. But yeah, I did get it. Sorry about that. Sometimes I'm doing videos and I don't read the comments. So if this is what I will say is wait till the end when I say I pull the comments up to share it so I read it. Thank you, Jay. That was very very generous of you. I missed it. I'm sorry. Usually it's like when I say, hey, I'm going to look at the comments now, then I see it. I literally block them out sometimes during the show. Thank you, Tina. How do I make my opinion about other things I talk about? I read, right? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ask me a specific question. I'll tell you an opinion, but like, I guess the other person was telling me about the cow. You had to fully explain it to me. Like, oh, there's a cow before the attack and now they're building a, what's it called? Not an idol, but I don't know what they're building. You get what I'm saying? Like, if I don't know that much, I'm not going to pretend like I do, but if you can explain things to me more, then I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah. All of the people you were talking about are ones that said, oh, don't boycott, and now we have wokeism everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just because of boycotts, though. It's like, who said not to boycott? Are you saying like Charlie and stuff? I can't speak on what they're doing. Like, I know the Bud Light thing, everyone got paid. So that, or like Dana got paid and like the lobbyists work with Trump and they were like, don't boycott. So you'll have to talk to them about it. Thank you, Branches. I appreciate it. Funnily enough, with a super chat says Testament has a song about psyops, the new eyes of the old. I'll have to look at that. That's fire. Do I have any published books or thinking of it? Yeah, I wrote one. I just have to publish it. I'll get to it eventually, but I got to build my business structure properly because I've been just running in circles the last year. This year I'm trying to slow down because I was always like 3 steps behind last year. So this year I'm just doing things more intentionally, doing less to do more, and also just like living in the present moment and not like getting too wrapped up behind. So there's a lot of things that I'm trying to finish, but I will finish it eventually. All right, let me see. If anyone has a picture of Trump and them, I will not even read anything they will put out, said Maggie May. What's up, Maggie? It's just cringe because I know what's going on. And it's like, especially people that are new to the game, it's like if you join one of these media companies or whatever, you're tapped in, right? You have connections, you make money, you have a studio, but it comes at a cost. Candace kind of showed that. It's like, don't go here and we'll give you all these things. Just don't go there and you could get everything. And then once you meet up with Trump and the sponsors, it's like, you're not going to do real reporting on Trump because he's essentially lobbied you with his presence. And that's the reason nobody wanted to report on him accurately, is because he's a master manipulator of social gatherings. And it's like, everybody just wants to be famous. The Republican sphere is like a bunch of like wannabe celebrities. And I'm not acting like I'm so great or whatever. I'm a real one, it's not what I'm saying. It's just like these people, just like left wingers, they've made their own like Trump Hollywood, like just like in the left. Oh, how did they do that? Or this person and that person. And like, oh my gosh, how did they go to that director's room to get the job? It's like, because Hollywood is filled with opportunistic left wingers who will do anything to be with rich and powerful people and get in movies. That's what the whole city's about. The right is like Trump Hollywood now. It's just a bunch of opportunists and grifters and people who want to be famous and be around, galas. And that's all they have to do. They give these people that, and then they just become shills. They don't even mean to, some of them, or I don't know, like, but that's kind of the trade-off. Like, I feel the same as you. It's like, once I see the picture with him, it's not to say like you can't take a picture with him, but at this point, and then you hear how they talk, and if they won't say certain stuff, it's like you could start connecting all the dots. You're like, the Dana thing and the Bud Light thing, I nailed that before I was even 100% sure, because I was just connecting a few dots, and it's like a constellation, and the night sky just gets darker and the lights get brighter. Like everything I said was true, but I even said it before I was 100% sure. I was like 50 to 60% sure. And then it all became like literally real, where it's like, okay, Bud Light boycott. Did they stop the boycott and tell everyone to stop the boycott because they just had this moral hunch that it was wrong? No, it was a financial hunch because Dana White got $100 million or so, or his organization, from Bud Light. Bud Light was in the trash can. Conservatives dunked them, and they needed a popular right-wing figure to pay off to try to pull people back in. So they pulled off Dana White. And then look who's hanging out with Dana White. Kid Rock. When did Kid Rock stop the Bud Light boycott? Because he hangs out with Dana White and Trump. And he even admitted on the podcast that with Joe Rogan that the CEO of Budweiser came up to him and basically told him, let's go hunting. And they just, reeled him in and told him to chill out. Trump met with the lobbyists as well of Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch. So it's like they basically got the reparations from Bud Light. And everyone's like, Bud Light didn't apologize. I've said this 50 times. They apologized to Dana White's bank account and Trump's bank account. And these are your leaders that just think you're cattle and sheep. And they're like, shut up. We got paid, so it's over. And everyone's like, but we didn't get anything out of it. It's like, yeah, we got everything. You're not supposed to get anything. Like, that's the role. Trump is the bank and you're just the fan. You don't make Tom Brady money. He makes some money. You're just a fan. That's what these people are. But it's like, it's politics. They're supposed to believe what you believe. They don't. And then you see like who now you see, PBD podcasts, they're hanging out with these people. And now they're getting interviews and pictures with Trump. So here's what they're never going to do. Real journalism. You know what I'm saying? They're never going to ask Trump the tough questions. Just like with Ted Cruz. I want to explain this again real quick. Ted Cruz was trying to discriminate against unvaccinated people. And he's such a loser and he's such a fraud and he's such a weakling that he tried to get freedom back on airplanes for only vaccinated people, not both, just vaccinated people. A year and a half after lockdowns, not even like recent. It was like way later, and he's still doing this crap. No one's asked him a question about that. Why? Probably the same donors who donate to Ted Cruz and the same donors who donate to all the Republicans, they probably give a shitload of money to TPUSA. So Ted Cruz is on the stage. Crowder never asked him the question. And I'm not saying they're all necessarily working together, but it's like it's this big, giant cover-up in conservative media because they're all just opportunists and they're all fake celebrities and they're all just wannabe Hollywood people. And all they do is just hang out at galas and sell you out. That's all they do. So it's like, I don't need any attention. It's not like a thing. I could be at these places if I wanted to be, but I know the trade-off. It's like, I'll go to these events if you like who I am and you respect my work. If you won't invite me places because I do the work you guys don't do, I'd rather not get invited than get invited and change who I am. And I stopped getting invited when I started doing real reporting. It wasn't even about Trump at first. It was about the speech laws that they're all passing. So you got to ask yourself, is everyone so stupid that Ted Cruz has had 50 interviews and not a single person has asked him, one, why he wants to make Uganda gay, but also why he was discriminating against the unvaccinated? Why has no one asked him a single question? Because it's all like a little Hollywood club now on the right. And they're like, oh, we're not the left-wing Hollywood. Yeah, you guys are like the dumber, faker, less talented Hollywood, where all the rejects from Hollywood go and hang out at Mar-a-Lago and they just sell you out and wear cowboy hats. And it's frustrating because people think you're just being a hater when you say this, but you know the truth that these people are snaking you the same way Nancy Pelosi snakes Democrats. It's the same thing. You just don't know what's happening because they don't tell you. And the reason it's not more popular to speak that it's not happening is because they box and blacklist everybody else that will say it. It's like it's like this whole game that they're playing. So it is what it is. But yeah, when people meet Trump, they stop asking him questions. That's another reason that Candace is way more epic than everyone else. This was even before the last few months. She came on my podcast and she explained that if you ever saw her interview with Trump, to be honest, I like Candace, but I'm just being honest, she didn't push back extremely hard. She actually, I wouldn't say softballed him in a rude way, but she was being respectful because she likes Trump and they're friends. So she gave him a fair interview, but it wasn't like a 10 out of 10 hardball. I would say it was like a 4 out of 10. She babied him, but she did ask him good questions. She asked him about the vaccine. She pushed back a little bit. And then she asked him about Julian Assange. Why didn't you pardon Julian Assange? That's a great question. Why did no one but Candace Owens ask him that question? And why is Candace Owens now kicked out of that club? It's because they don't like people who ask real questions. Oh, Candace is going to ask real questions. Kick her out. Oh, Candace knows this. Kick her out. They've been doing this for 5-6 years. But Candace came on my show and said she heard, because she's got a lot of friends too, that Trump didn't like her after she did this. I'm sure they're cool now. I hope they are. But it was like, oh, Candace pushed back a little bit against me and then told the media that I didn't know what I was talking about with the vaccine because I'm old or whatever. And Trump got offended. Trump is wrong about the vaccine. Trump lies about it, but he doesn't care. He bullies people that tell the truth about it. That's why nobody pushes him on it, because if you try to push Trump on that, he'll push you out of the whole movement. Nobody likes you. They like him. So it's like Candace told the story of like, because she gave him an interview and because, that came up, it's like Trump tried to box her out or was like, I'm mad at Candace for saying this about me. It's like, what do you want Candace to do? Oh, Daddy Trump, you're so right about the vaccine. You're my hero. No, she said, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe he just doesn't know what he's talking about because like older people like vaccines more sometimes. Like she was trying to rationalize why Trump was lying because he was lying, and she was being nice. I believe Trump sold out to Big Pharma. I don't think he's dumb. I think he sold out. But Candace, since she's a friend of Trump, was trying to help him and be like, how do I not throw Trump under the bus as a sellout, but also justify why he's lying? And Candace isn't fake enough to just lie for him. So she tried to figure out an excuse to help Trump to figure out why he wasn't a sellout and but he's wrong. And just her trying to help him, he basically tried to be like, yeah, with Candace, like, nah. And she told that story. So that's why everyone's so fake in the Republican Party. You have to be. You have to bow down on the altar of multiple topics, and it's not the Constitution or the truth. It's like him and a certain group that, they're passing speech laws for. It's just the reality of it. So, it is what it is, but that's why it's so satisfying for me. And I don't have like this Joker vibe where I want to see people fail. I really don't. I want to see good people succeed, and I don't like drama. Even the Crowder thing, I want to say this real quick. I was weighing in on the Crowder thing and I wanted to talk about it when I thought it was just about him and his former co-host and not allowing him to work and basically like stopping him from working at another media company. I think that's crazy. But it's not. It's like his wife, his kids, his custody. I'm not going to talk about that because that's really messed up. Like I don't want to get between Crowder and his kids or his wife and his kids. Now that's for the family court. Now that's for him to decide. Now that's for him and his family and his friends to know. I'm not doing that because I'm an ethical person. I never wanted to get into that world. I just wanted to talk about this public conversation about contracts that Crowder himself made public. And then also, his former co-host speaking out, but I'm not getting involved now because it involves custody and his kids. And it would be really grimy to do that. With that being said, it's like, I don't want Daily Wire to fail. They do good work and there's good people there. Not all of them, but there's a lot of good people there. And I don't want Charlie Kirk to fail or TPUSA to fail. But it's like, at the same time, I do want them to stop being so scammy and lying and covering this stuff up because it's like they're the ultimate deceivers. So it is satisfying watching them have to face the truth after 5 years of trying to box it out. And they've all been trying to box it out because they just want to make money, And the funniest thing is, I wouldn't say it's funny, but it is interesting. What was the word that PragerU used for the title of their movie talking about how left-wingers were shutting down free speech at college campus? What is the phrase that Charlie Kirk popularized and Ben Shapiro popularized? It's 2 words. They made a name for what Democrats wanted on their college campuses because they didn't want to face scrutiny or opposition to their terrible ideas. What was that word? They made a documentary with the name. They said it a bunch of times. They popularized the phrase. 2 words. What are those words? I said it earlier. I'm just going to wait till people write it. Someone said, I don't watch it. Let's see. If no one gets it in 5 seconds, I'll just, no, it was safe space, right? Safe spaces. Democrats want safe spaces. Liberals want safe spaces. They need a safe space on their college campus. When the governor of Texas yesterday passed his anti-Semitism hate speech phrases on college campuses, he said to review free speech rhetoric, police rhetoric, and we need to create a safe space. He's like, they are, people think I'm exaggerating. They are liberals. They are infringing on, they're doing the same things. Shapiro, Kirk, it's a whole cover up, The politicians pass it. They pass safe speech laws that are against the Constitution. They lie about it publicly. They straw man it and say they're only doing this when the phrasing of the actual bill is way different, and they're all lying about it. And then if anybody like myself or anyone else ever figures out that they're lying, they blacklist us behind the scenes, call us anti-Semitic, and try to kick us out of reality. They've been doing this for 5 years. Excuse my language. Fuck these people. Fuck them. They can go fuck themselves. They're all scammers. They're all liars. They're all con artists. It's a giant cover up. And it's been for 5 years. So now, like the Matt Walshes of the world are like, oh, why are people pretending? Shut the hell up, dude. You know why everyone's talking about this stuff. And you know what your role at Daily Wire is. Pick out a nice collar, get your leash, and shut up. Stop acting like you don't know what's going on. You know what's going on. What I just said is going on is going on. The whole thing is a lie. And I told people this in the other stream. I had a podcast where I talked about this, and they cut it off. It was a Blaze TV affiliate, and I don't know who made the decision or what, but I was like, isn't it hypocritical? I said this in 2019, guys. Now it's 5 years later, and it's all coming out. I said, isn't it a little hypocritical of PragerU to put out a no safe spaces documentary while they're justifying literal safe spaces in the exact thing that they say that liberals are doing on college campus for Israel and one race and one religion? I'm not supporting liberal protesters. They wear masks. They're weird. No offense. It's like I support their right to peacefully protest. But once you stop peacefully protesting, it's not a protest anymore. And if you're shutting down buses and stuff, you're annoying and you're breaking the law, and it doesn't help. And you take the pharmaceutical mask off. You look like a clown. With that being said, read the law. It's not that. That's not what they're passing. They're passing, you can't criticize this country. You can't say this. You can't talk about biblical verses. Like, that's what they're passing. Anti-Christian laws, in my opinion, that make parts of the Bible hate speech. And Republicans are doing it. Christians and Catholics are doing it. And all these little dingbats that they prop up in conservative media are the ones that they know are fake and soulless enough to not tell you that it's happening. And that's how they get there. And if they ever didn't do it, they would get replaced and someone else would go there. That's what's going on. It's been going on for 5 years. So excuse me if I do find it a little bit satisfying that they're all having to face reality now, and they're all spiraling. So what do they do now that they have to face the reality that they've been lying for 5 years? Do they tell the truth? Do they admit that they were lying? Do they just use the hate speech phrase and words to call everybody hateful that points out that they're lying? Ding, 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 ding. They're liberals. Everything they do is liberal. Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, Daily Wire. They're all exactly what they were going to. Safe spaces on college campus, speech laws, hate speech, lying, exaggerating. They are exactly what they claim to hate. And that's this country. It's like the left and the right just fight. They're all fake. Left has real Hollywood, which is creepy. The right wing has ugly Hollywood with all the ugly rejects that couldn't make it in Hollywood because they're not good actors. And everybody thinks they got a dog in the race. It's like, I'm over it. Frank Black 101 said, with RFK legally going on after big AG, big pharma, big corporations, et cetera, in lawsuits, do I think he would get in office and actually drain the swamp? Yeah, it's a hypothetical, but do I think he would drain the swamp completely? No. And I think his foreign policy would be egregious. But do I think he would make better hires than Trump in a lot of those places? Probably. Trump is the biggest phony. He hires literally the worst people all the time, and no one seems to notice, but hopefully he doesn't next time. The thing is, though, it's like RFK's not going to win this time, and I don't know what he's doing or why he's running independent. Like, his original goal was not, let me run independent. Why did he not say that at the beginning? Because he's not going to, you can't win in this country, especially he's from a Democrat family. He's working with Democrat donors. He's not that big of an outsider. In some topics, yes, but if he's going to be that big of a Democrat, he's like the biggest Democrat in the country. Run as a Democrat when it's time, and you could probably win the election. To say you're going to run as a Democrat to beat Biden, and then you decide to drop out and go independent, and now you're not going to win the election and probably crash. He's probably not going to get more than 15% of the vote. I just I'm like, it's just weird. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like when people talk about Shiva. I don't dislike Shiva. I've had him on the show twice. He'll come on again eventually. God bless the guy. But it's like the campaign, like he's not going to win, like he's raising awareness. He's talking about stuff. He's, telling people to go to his like course or whatever he does every day, like come to my consultation or whatever thing he always wants everybody to go to. Like, he's doing all that, and it's fine. And I don't have anything bad to say about it. But as far as the it's not a real campaign. So no matter how much you it's like saying Vivek was going to win, and Vivek had a bigger chance than he had just off of logistics and how he was running a more serious campaign. I don't even like Vivek like that. I'm just saying it's like, oh, Vivek, what if Vivek's president? I don't know. What if Mickey Mouse turns back into Steamboat Willie and circumnavigates the world, ends up in Alaska, hangs out with, Jeffrey Epstein, John Kerry and RFK Jr. back from the grave in Antarctica, comes back here and wins president. It's like, yeah, then the deep state will be crushed, except it's not real. Like Vivek, I said he was going to get 5 to 10% of the vote. Like that's what he got, because it's just what it is. Like maybe in the future he can, just like RFK can. RFK's not running a serious campaign. So I'm sorry to go on that tangent. I'm just disappointed because I like RFK and I don't understand what he's doing. It's just so dumb. Why do all this just to do what he's doing now? I don't get his angle at all. And I question what his intentions really even are, because it would be like me jumping in the race and running for president right now. And it's like, why? You're not going to win, because I'm going to win. You're not, though. I don't, I just don't get it, but whatever. Steamboat Willie was my jam. Steamboat Willie was fire. Definitely. He's a cool guy. Someone said Ukraine is set to be the new Jerusalem. I don't know if that's true, but that would be crazy. I heard at one point, don't quote me on this, but I heard that before, Zionists were considering multiple parts, because I don't know the story that they're going with or whatever, but they weren't there in the early 1900s, and then they got to that land. But I heard they were looking at different parts of the world to make Zionism and create the new Israel. And I heard they were looking at Africa and the Middle East, and they decided on the Middle East. But is that true? Someone said your voice got blacker. Thanks, man. That was the worst black impression ever. I apologize. I usually don't apologize, but I will go on an apology tour for that attempt at the saddest accent ever. So I do apologize for that. That's the worst thing I've ever done. Someone said everyone is a plant. Anomaly is something. His things last the test of time. I'm not trying to say everyone is a plant or that I'm so great. It's just if what I'm saying is true, which it is, then it's going to be right in 5 years, because I'm telling the truth. I know the game that these people are playing. If Matt Walsh came out and he did a 15-minute video, Madagascar, yeah, I heard they were thinking about that. But anyway, if Matt Walsh came out and did a 15-minute video and he said what he knows, I know he knows this because he wrote articles about it. He's talked about it. He tweets that he's against it. Say Matt Walsh did a 15-minute video and he said, listen, my name's Matt Walsh. Welcome to the Daily Wire, you scoundrels. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't talk like that. But Matt Walsh made a video and he goes, listen, there's anti-Semitism, speech laws being passed through government. Trump passed them. DeSantis passed them. Governor Abbott passed them. Kristi Noem passed them. Sarah Huckabee Sanders passed them. There's anti-protest laws in 30 different states now. They're stopping you from boycotting. He said, listen, the Republican Party is being hypocrites and everybody's being a hypocrite because we say that we're against safe spaces, but we're literally creating them and passing hate speech phrases, including one that makes certain Bible verses and interpretations hate speech. And Matt Walsh said, and anybody who talks about this will be smeared as anti-Semitic. And if you talk about the lobby that's funding this, they'll call you anti-Semitic. And if he came out and said, listen, a lot of people have been smeared falsely for noticing this. If Matt Walsh made that video, hey, Matt Walsh, excuse me, isn't Matt Shapiro. Listen, I'm just kidding. But he knows he can't make that video. So he can say on Twitter, all free speech, all he wants. He'll never make that video. Why not? Because, if he makes that video, his income is at risk and his job is at risk. And he knows that. That's his line. That's his leash. That's his collar. So make the money. Just know you're deceiving your own religion, your own country, and your own people. That's what's happening. How does he feel good about himself? Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody sins. Everybody's flawed. But they all know they're doing this. Some of them are purposely doing it because they want to do it. They're like, yeah, we want these laws. Matt Walsh, I don't think he does want them, but he'll never say it. He'll never actually do a video on it. He's a coward, in my opinion. On other topics, he's wildly brave. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the bravest people in the conservative movement. He's got some brass balls on some other topics, no doubt. But it's like, bro, we all know you can't make that video. He wrote an article about this, and he said, if you say this lobby, blank lobby, they smear you as anti-Semitic, even though there is a lobby like that. Say those two words together again. He knows he'll get the Candace Owens and anomaly treatment, and he doesn't want it. He wants to maintain his relationship and not get that. So he just lets everybody just get abused around him, and he doesn't say anything. He's a coward, you know? They're getting smeared, and these laws are getting passed, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to act like it's not happening, as Andrew shit for brain Clavin does like the dumbest things ever. It's like, let me tell you why Christ the King is anti-Semitic, and Ben Shapiro, you know, he doesn't need God because it's like his family would be disappointed and he wouldn't get as many worldly things. Yeah, is that what the Bible says? You know, reject the Lord if you know, you want worldly gain. It's like, you sure you have the Christian Bible? You sure it's not like the inverted Bible that you're reading? Because like, it's, you know, nobody's perfect, but it doesn't say like, yeah, just reject everything because, you know, you can get opportunities and speaking gigs. It's like it doesn't say that, bro. Like that, it would be like me trying to gaslight myself into believing that too, you know, and being like, oh, I could do this, and this, and that's what I should be doing. It's like I shouldn't be doing, you know. Not perfect, but I'm aware that, you know, that's a better way to live. I think all Christians know that. And I think that's the point of it, is obviously, I think no one's perfect, but there's a difference between trying to be better and understanding and having self-awareness for what you're doing wrong versus just thinking it's okay. And I like, anytime I say this on Twitter, people will be like, you know, you don't need religion to be a moral person. I'm not saying you need religion to be a moral person. I'm not saying every religious person is moral, and I'm not saying every unreligious person is immoral, because I don't think that's true. And I judge people on a case-to-case basis. However, I will say this. Any atheist in the last at least 3 or 4 years, when I've gotten way smarter and more research on everything and older and wiser, every atheist always spirals. They start out good and they spiral. Jordan Peterson, Godsod, or whatever that guy's name is. What's the guy's name that blocked me recently on Twitter? James Lindsay. Sam Harris is a good example. They're so smart, and then they just morally and spiritually spiral, and then they're so dumb. So it's like, you know, I'm not saying you have to do this, but I just can't find any atheist speaker that impresses me. They're all like really, really dumb in basic categories. It's like, you're so smart. You know, you're such a smart psychologist, yet you didn't know pharmaceutical pills were bad. I'm not like, listen, good people, half the country is addicted to pharmaceutical pills, and like, good people die from pharmaceutical pills. I'm not acting like you should make fun of somebody for taking pharmaceutical pills, but if somebody's a clinical psychologist like Jordan Peterson for 30 years and they don't know that pills are bad, I'm not saying it's because he's atheist, but it's like, I don't look up to these atheists like, oh, they're so much wiser than me. He's really good at talking about feminism. He's really good at talking about the equality of outcome versus opportunity, or, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, like that whole conversation. He's high level, A+ genius, but he's not wise. And as a man, like, I don't look up to him like he's a man that really has his stuff together. He looks like a broken man. He never looks happy. He never looks joyful. He barely ever smiles. He makes the weirdest mistakes all the time and tries to like give me a Nietzsche pseudo intellectual reason to like, God is this, but he's not this. Dude, I'd rather just read the Bible at this point. Like, I don't need to hear how God's real, but you don't quite accept him because of this, and this is what he means. It's like, I'm not taking advice from you. Like, smile, be a little more joyful. You know, why is he never happy? And I'm not trying to be like, now this is getting like mean and stuff, but it's like, dude, I feel bad for Jordan Peterson. Like, he doesn't look like someone who's enjoying anything he ever does. I don't even know if I've ever seen him smile one time. So it's like, people like that and Sam Harris, I'm not trying to be rude, but there's always this runaround to try that everybody wants to tell you like, oh, you don't need to be Christian to do this. You don't need God to do this. I'm not saying you do, but like, you're not impressing me. Sam Harris is not impressing me. You're not like blowing my mind with new information that I've never heard before. It's like, you're just regurgitating things that I already know with an atheist angle, which always leads you to spiraling in like a crazy way where it's like, you know, I'm not saying you're bad if you didn't understand the vaccine stuff. Everybody learns at a different time. Like, and I've made mistakes too, but it's like, it took you 3 years to figure that out. You thought the Canadian government was going to give you stuff because you got vaccinated. Like, that's so dumb. How is that a wise person? It's one thing to get the vaccine at 2 or 3, but like, once you got it and you didn't get access to stuff, like, you're really shocked over that. That's crazy. And that's the thing too, that I'll tell you what really bothered me. And I'm sure anybody unvaccinated feels the exact same way. Dude, I remember the day that like people got the vaccine and stuff. Dude, people were acting crazy. Like, they were like, oh, look, I could take my mask off. Like, they were flexing on unvaccinated people so hard, even people that I like, oh, look, I could travel now. I could take my mask off, because that was their little marketing scheme. How did people not see that? Like, oh, we'll hold you for ransom. And if you get the vaccine, you got to get a shot and a second one, and it might hurt you for a while, and you might get sick for 2 days, but that's proof that it's working. And but we don't have liability for side effects, injury, and but it's like, anyway, everyone started being like, da, 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 I got my vaccine, I'm a free man. So that's like the vibe I got from Jordan Peterson. Is he's like, squirt, 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 squirty, squirt, squirt, squirt in the left, squirt in the right, squirt, 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 got my triple squirt mRNA squirt gun in my veins. And then it's like, he's walking around like, da, 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 da. And then Justin Trudeau's like, hey, everybody, like, actually, I lied. And even if you got 3 vaccines or 2 or 4 or whatever, if you got the mRNA or the AstraZeneca, actually, you don't have your freedoms anymore. And then Jordan Peterson is like, what? Oh, no. Oh, no. You promised me. It's like, shut up, dude. Like, you're that weak of a man. Like, it's one thing to get the 3 shots. It's another thing to be like shocked. Like, what? Oh, no, I listened to you, and now you're taking me away. It's like, what? Why did you think that? Like, you thought you were going to get 3 squirties in your arm and you were going to get access to society, and I was going to have to sit here like a slave for 5 years? You're an idiot. Like, you thought that, like, I'm like laughing when that's happening. I'm not like reveling in people's failure, but it's like, seriously, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. And you're the thought leader? Oh, but atheism's the way. Oh yeah, Sam Harris, that's aging well. All these, it's like, it's always this like subversive way to try to get you to like not believe religion. It's like, whatever, it's just like, I don't think every religious person's moral. I don't think every non-religious person isn't moral, but I haven't been impressed by any leader in the last 3 years that calls himself like an atheist. That James Lindsay guy, I would have loved to have a conversation with him, because the way he was talking was so dumb. Like, he was trying to act like what I was saying wasn't happening with the speech laws, because he either doesn't know or doesn't want to talk about it. But he just kept being like, you're dumb or you're an operative. And it's like, no, you could say that, but no. And it's like, oh, I'm, and it's like always like this thing. He's like, I'm varsity. And he like changes his thing. He's like, I'm varsity. What are you, like in high school? What do you play? Varsity football, bro? Like, you think you're like a varsity level thinker, but you're really not, though, dude. Like, I write books about my God. It needs this and that. I mean, it's like, you're not better than God, bro. You need God. Find God. Okay. And then maybe you'll want to debate me. I posted, I retweeted, or whatever the kids are saying these days on Twitter, something about, if you look at old buildings, 1800s, 1900s, probably before that too, they built beautiful things. Now everything's ugly and modern, and they just hate you. They're like, sit in this box and we'll just suck all your money out of you and put you in debt. But like, at a certain point, they built beautiful buildings, beautiful churches. Everything was built incredibly. Now everybody hates you and hates beauty and hates God. So I just retweeted and I said, this is the result of them sucking God, national love, beauty, nature, and all these things like out of society. Like, they're sucking these things that made people build beautiful stuff in the past. Now nobody does. So I say that, and like, someone comes to the comments and he's like, I'm atheist, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, find God. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're making a post that's about hundreds of years of infrastructure about you and your religious beliefs. I know I said God in the thing, but I didn't single you out. I'm not saying that an atheist has never built anything beautiful, but that is why I believe that everything is trash now. And I say that, and it's like he makes the whole post about himself. He's like, oh my God, what do you think? Atheists can't do that. And it's just like, tired of arguing with these people. Find God. That's what I said to him. Find God. You're making an architecture post about you and your beliefs. Stop. It's like they're always like, oh, I mean, well, technically, when people used to build great things, like God was there, but like we could technically do it without God. Then go technically do it. Technically, somewhere else, technically, go do it. It's just like communism can technically work. It's technically this way, but it technically never does. And it's like, yeah, we understand. And libertarian would totally technically work in New Hampshire with a bunch of bros, but technically it wouldn't really work. And because anarchy, you just get toast, and someone stronger would technically take over, and the cartels would technically rule your whole place. And then our anarchy and libertarianism would technically go out the window. It's like, yeah, I understand. And I want to live on a giant marshmallow and wake up and just eat my pillow and be like, and they're like, what are you doing? And it's like, dude, it's raining pepperonis. And you know what I'm saying? Wow, everything's edible. It's like, we don't live in Willy Wonka's movie. So grow up, like, enjoy yourself. I'm not saying to be like upset, but it's like everybody always wants to tell me how, it's not, yeah, of course, like a lot of these things were built by religious people, but they didn't technically have to be. Then technically you go build it. Go build the best building in America and say you did it because you're atheist. Then I'll believe it. But until then, I'm saying that nothing's beautiful in this country anymore because they've sucked out not just God, but God, religion, beauty, like love of your people. And I'm not saying in like a racist way. I'm just saying, like, if you love your nation and you love your neighbors, you build beautiful things. If you hate everybody around you, you don't give a shit about them, and that's the problem with society now. Is nobody likes each other. Nobody has any sort of like reason to want to do. I don't know. Everything's just like so weird. Everybody's texting all the time. I sound like a boomer now. I'm just boomering out on my own stream, but you get it. Let's make America great again. Has anyone ever said that? Oh yeah, I'm just kidding, but thank you, Joe. Atheism leads to nihilism. I mean, if you could crush it and be a monk and just like crush, or just like your work will speak for itself. If you're great at something and you crush and then that's your belief, then you can elevate that belief with your beauty. But it's like you can't, like, if you're like an Islamic fighter and you win the belt and you're like Allah, and then everyone's like, oh, I'm atheist. It's like, well, you didn't win the belt this time, bro. The Muslim's going to say Allah because he won the belt, and that's what he feels like got him there. So it's like, it's not up to you. If you're an atheist, go do something, and then you could say your atheism did it, but you can't cry whenever everyone says other things like God's helping them do this and that, and you don't think so. It's like, who cares? It's not. Do I love my fellow man? Absolutely. I'm a joyful person. I think I'm a good neighbor. I'm a happy person. I'm a good tipper. I like people who do great work. I like to reward people who are great. And I'm not saying they have to be like physical athletes or anything. I'm just talking about like nice people, good people. I think I'm a net positive for sure. Do I like everybody? No, of course not. But am I out here scamming everyone because I'm mad at somebody? No, I'm not a scammer. I'm not out here trying to like one up everybody at the expense of their happiness. So yeah, I'm sure I could do better in some ways, but I would like to say that I like to be a good person off camera and, be joyful and like enjoy the good people in my neighborhood and the good people that I encounter and work with them. But yeah, it's not all fun. Sometimes you just want to be alone because people are annoying. But Cooley said they're only passing these laws because they could silence Jewish criticism on social media. Example, Twitter bans LGBT stuff in Indonesia. Yeah, I mean, you see how everything works where it's like, say in like Germany or Austria, it's like, or whatever, they have like certain laws. So it's like they'll strong arm Twitter to say like, this is our national law. We can't have people saying that because this is our law. As you said, I don't know about Indonesia, but it's like if you have a anti-LGBT law, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook, and it's like whether it's a national law or a law that Twitter themselves made up and enforce, it'll be enforced either way. I do think that's what they're doing. And I'll tell you this too. You're going to see it if this court case between that Candace and that rabbi are like, she's getting sued or whatever. Those laws are going to be invoked in court as defamation laws, right? Anti-Defamation League. That's the ADL. Defamation is important to them. It's in their name. So the defamation laws are now being written, but one group is getting like special protections that other groups don't have in law. So absolutely, the more they push these law, they'll be used in court cases, they'll be used in censorship, they'll be used to stop protests at schools, they're already used to boycott. And if it goes further and gets more normalized, they're going to do what they do in Canada, Indonesia, like you're saying, if that's true there. I'm not familiar. That's absolutely what's going to happen. It's going to go further and further, and then America is going to be a shell of a nation. So it's not just because of those laws, but yeah, they're not there for you, or they're not going to help anybody. And in general, I never understood why they were passing anti-boycott laws, because it wasn't even that popular to boycott Israel. Like, no one was really doing it that much. I mean, liberals were kind of, but not really. But now after the war broke out, now it's becoming more popular. So it's almost like preventative laws. Like, they're always like 4 years ahead with the laws, not always, but it's like, they'll pass the law and I'll be like, I don't get it. And then like 4 years later, I'll be like, oh, I get it now. Cause it's like, now there are more people who want to boycott. So it's like, I was like, why would you want to boycott a foreign country? I don't get it. Like, I get like made in America, like, oh, I want to only buy in America, or I don't. But then it's like, also some people don't want to buy China goods. They do all the time. But like, if you can avoid buying Chinese goods, a lot of people try to do that. Some people don't. Why would you pass a law that you can't boycott one country? I never got it. I was like, what? But now I get it. I was like, oh, that's what's going on. Pretty wild. Someone said prayers for Candace. God's got that girl. She's I definitely think she's well equipped to deal with what's going on. I want to say two things too. I saw her say she was re-recording Taylor's version of her stuff, which means like she was referencing Taylor Swift to get out of her old contracts, or to own the music that she didn't own, that she lost ownership of. She re-recorded her songs slightly differently, put it up to get full ownership. Candace says she's doing that. So all the content that Daily Wire owns through the contract, Candace is actually re-recording all that stuff to put it out. That's pretty cool, in my opinion. It's interesting. With that being said, she's dealt with a lot of stuff. She's been wilding out for years. Like, it's not like, that's the thing with her too. It's not the first time she said some wild stuff. She's been wild for a long time now. I mean, she put out a BLM documentary. They got pissed off. She's probably been sued a bunch. Like, she's never been safe. She's never been like, oh, let me just calmly talk about this. She'll talk to rappers. She'll talk about groups, foreign countries. Like, she's been the same way. I mean, obviously she's gotten older and wiser, but it's like everyone will act like this is brand new. Like, I can't believe she said that. It's like, have you not listened to her for the last 5 years? Like, that's just how she does it. So what I'm trying to say is, I think she's well equipped to deal with all this stuff, because I think she's probably dealt with way more than most people have already. Like that. To me, I don't want to get to that territory, because I don't know. You look at all these other situations and it's like, I feel bad. Like, it's like dealing with lawsuits sucks. Like, even with Crowder and his wife, like that sucks with the custody. Like, that's all places you just don't want to be, in my view. Like, I don't look at that and be like, oh, that's what I want. I'm like, dang, that sucks. I'd rather like not deal with that and fly under the radar, because I don't want to be to that level, to be honest. Like, it's like, if it has to be that way, it is what it is, but I don't like seek that out, because it's like with Trump. Like, Trump has probably been sued 10,000 times. It's exhausting. Like, at a certain point you get used to it, but he probably got sued a bunch before he ever even got into office. Like, once you get rich, everybody just wants your money. So it's like in other countries, and in countries that are less law and order than America, if you're rich, everybody wants your money, and like cartels and blah, blah, blah. In America, it's like people just sue you, all the time, or you get sued for this and that. And some random chick you haven't seen in 40 years pops up and says that you did something to her. Like that, like, would you want to deal with that? That's why people like Trump, because you see him dealing with that crap and you're like, damn, that sucks. You're like, what are they trying to take $400 million? Like, would you want to deal with that? Anybody in the comment section? I wouldn't. It just sounds like a stressful, a hassle. Someone said, if we won the war, why is the bar full of lager drinkers? I don't get it. Is that a joke or something? I'm always afraid of reading a joke because I'm like, you guys are going to set me up. I'm going to say something crazy and then get blamed for it. $10 super chat said, thank you for all you do at Anomaly. Pierce the germs. Thank you. I appreciate it. Read a few more and then we'll keep it under 2 hours and 30 minutes. And by the way, I'm going to take off tomorrow and Sunday. I'm not taking off as if like I'm going to do literally nothing, but Saturday and Sunday, I try to catch up on other work. I have a bunch of emails from dreamrarebiz.com. I tell people I'm doing like sponsorships, consulting, 2 different things. And I probably have like 20 or 30 emails. I don't know. I got to look through it all. So thank you guys for that. I got to I'm like behind on that. And I got to do my taxes and stuff. You already know tax day's coming up. Give that money to the IRS so they could start wars and use it against you. It's my favorite time of year. It's like, here's my money, government. Please make all the kids dumb. No, I don't know what they do. They're like brainwashing everybody, or I'm sure they do something good with it. Like the national parks, it's like 0.001% of their budget or something, but they'll send it over to Zelensky real fast. Let's see. Tax money for kid bomb. Someone said theft day. File an extension. Make them wait. I mean, I don't like filing. I just like to get it over with. I'm not a big extension guy, but they gave everyone an extension in California for some reason, like last year. So I don't know. They said there was some emergency. I was like, did I miss something? Did I fall asleep? Wake, like it's like a flood. I was like, okay. Am I actually strong or fast? In what? I would like to think I'm strong and fast, but I wouldn't say I'm like the fast. I'm not slow, but like compared to who? I'm fast. You're talking about like running? I'm fast compared to like a normal person, but if you paired me up with like professional athletes, I'd be slow. I don't know what you mean. Are you talking about that or no? Oh, you're talking about taxes? I don't know. Never mind. Saw you juggling. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jennifer. Am I good at chess? ELO. I'm good at chess, but I'm not good enough to talk about my ELO right now because it's a little embarrassing. What's your ELO in chess? Because mine's not as high as I want it to be. I need to. My problem, I'm good, but I need to get new openings, and I've been on the same thing for too long. I need to educate myself on some new chess openings because I'm not as good as I should be. Am I back to dunking? I haven't played basketball and tried to dunk in a while. I've been playing soccer, but I haven't even tried to dunk in a long time. I want to get some new shoes before I try to dunk because like I feel like I should have some good basketball shoes first. I just gave 12K on top of 60K throughout the year. IRS blows. Yeah, it's painful when you have to give that much money. It's very painful. What's up, Snap out of it? 900 rapid, not that good. Yeah, I'm around there. I'm a little lower. I only play rapid, but I'm like I'm floating between like 700 and like 900. But like sometimes I go on a run and I get high 800s. Other times I'm like lower and I just get embarrassed. But I just haven't been playing chess much, so my ELO is going down. What do I think about the AGI open AIs developed known as Q? I haven't heard about it, but the AI is advancing and like nobody really pays attention to it. Not nobody, but I'm not familiar with it. I'd have to research it, Pierce. Someone said if everyone didn't pay their taxes, the game would be over. Yes, but since everyone does pay their taxes, if you don't pay your taxes, they're just going to take your taxes. And if you try to avoid, they're going to throw you in jail. So, I'm not pumped about taxes, but I'm not trying to like have a revolution by myself and then just like, I'm just trying to just pay my taxes and keep them moving. But it's one of those things like in theory, it's like in theory, socialism would work, but you'll be like, everyone's not going to pay this year. And like 99.9% of people are going to pay. And then they're just going to come and figure it out. Everything's digital now too. So it's like, if you're not paying, like they'll figure it out. It's not that hard to figure out if you're not paying, in my opinion, but whatever. It's not life advice. It's just what I see. Now that we have a Joseph in office that only answers to the highest in the land in that great city called the Vatican, is Joseph a prophet? Is he a Vatican prophet? Joseph Biden? Yeah, I don't see it, but he could be listening to the Vatican. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. I don't know. The Pope, Like that whole thing just went right over my head. I almost said white over my head. That's like that would be like a Caucasian diss to the Pope. I'm like, that Pope goes white over my head. You know what I'm saying, guys? And that's when I force people to laugh so I don't get called racist. From you're like, yeah, the Pope. What's up with him? He's like white, right? He wears like funny suits, and then people are like, yeah, now joke about other people. And I was like, no. I don't want to get canceled. Let's just stick to the white Pope, okay? If you start talking about other people, it starts getting dicey. That's what most comedians do. They keep it safe like that. Francis is the first Jesuit Pope. Is that this one? Yeah, I don't get the whole open borders thing. Like, is that is that the Jesuits? What did they want the border to be open? I don't know. The bridge is also named Francis. That bridge thing is suspect, but I don't get. He's like, Jesus wants you to leave your border open. You're like, does he though? Are you sure, Pope Francis, that God wants me to just destroy my country? I don't think he does, but if you say so. Like, I didn't read that part of the Bible, but things do get weird. Let me see. Our leaders have reprobate minds, said Michael, destroying their own country. They don't even respect their own kids' life. The Lord did talk about when you give yourself over to a reprobate mind. I think there's a lot of that. It's hard to like fathom how crazy people are, because it's like there's being like degenerate, and then there's like the crap that they're doing. So it's like everybody makes mistakes, but like, does no one care about anything? Like, how could you just leave your border open and just destroy they don't care that the cities are shitty? Like, it's hard for me to even fathom the level of like corrupt that these people are. Cause it's like, don't you want to live in a nice city? Like, imagine being the mayor of New York City. Don't you want it to be fire? If you're the mayor and New York City's bumping, you're like, dude, I rock. Why would you want to be like the president over like a destroyed city, or like the leader over a failed country? It's hard for me to even fathom. And here's the thing. This is why you always have to have self-accountability. You could blame this group or these people or whatever, like whoever you think hates America, you can blame them. But the question is, why are so many people playing along? That's the real question to ask. It's not because there's going to be other countries and other groups of people and other nations that don't care about you. Like, that's always going to exist. Like, no, it's not like in human history. It's like, oh, and then the Greeks and the Romans, they just wanted each other to be as good. Like, it's like, it's not really how it went. I'm sure that maybe they didn't hate each other, but at the end of the day, it's like you're going to have rival nations and people who want what's best for them, not necessarily what's best for you. The real question in America isn't why are people doing this to America? It's why are people that are Americans and they like, why are they doing it to themselves? How can they live with themselves doing this? I just can't get, like, I just don't understand. Someone like Biden, he's cooked. He's been here for 50 years. The dude, like, do you remember when he did the debate and everyone was calling him like a devil on like Telemundo? They're like, El Diablo, El Diablo, because he just looks so evil. His eyes were like satanic. And, the Mexicans and Latinos, like they're they know the Bible stories. There's a lot of Christians and Catholics out there. So like they tried to put a Biden debate on like one of those Spanish channels, and like literally everyone was just calling him El Diablo. They were like, yo, why does he look like the devil? It's like, dude's like a soulless meat package just sitting there at 81, like with his demon eyes and everything. El Diablo. Yeah. It's like, but what's everyone else doing? Like, I don't get why everyone plays along. It's just really sad. Charles Hancock said, I left Mormonism because I don't need an intermediary between me and God. Happy Easter. Happy Easter, Charles. Remember, even though you're not a Mormon anymore, you could still have 15 children and name them all John. So that, it's like you got like 5 kids, name them all John or something. You could still do that, even if you're not Mormon. That's a joke. Sorry, Mormons, don't hate me. I just thought that was funny. It's not that offensive of a joke, because it's like, wow, you have a lot of kids. It's like, oh, wow, what a diss. That's not really a diss. It's a compliment. So keep it up. Curtis Lewa would be a good mayor of New York. Yeah, but he's not, though. He couldn't get elected. But I don't know how good he was. I know he was the conservative one. And people were like, nah, we're going to go with Eric Adams. It's like, when are people going to learn? You just wonder. more of that plant. It's not relevant. Yeah, I might put like a sign or something there, but we'll see. Easter is part of the problem. I don't know. I'm not sure how Christian Easter is at this point because people just like paint things and like play with bunnies. So people tell me that that's pagan. Like at a certain point, I think Christians just got bored and they were like, yo, let's make this holiday a little more lit. They're like, let's add some chocolate bunnies and some like pastel colors. And it's like, is that in the Bible? You're like, no, I'm just trying to spice it up a little bit. Like, but I'm American. So part of me is like, yeah, that's pagan. And the other part of me is like, I don't want to give up that milk chocolate bunny. It means things to me. I like the bunny. Biden's going to come out with a bunny and like, happy Easter. And, and everyone's going to be like, what? But when Trump does it, people are going to be like, yeah, bunnies. One of my favorite videos is like Trump with like some Easter. I think it was Despicable Me. This is one of my favorite Trump moments. The Despicable Me like comes over to like talk to Trump for whatever reason. I have no idea why. Maybe it was Halloween. And Trump just puts like a candy bar on his head and he like bounces out on his head. And then like the Despicable Me starts running and it knocks the chocolate, like the chocolate falls off the head. And Trump's just like, whatever, I don't know if you've ever seen that video, but it's epic for like, it's very charming. It's very like, yeah, dude, I want to vote for this guy and hope he builds a wall this time or fixes things again. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about. Does anyone know what I'm talking about or no? I don't know. Like, did that just fall on the deaf ears? It's okay. We don't all have the research ability. I research the important stuff, like Trump putting chocolate on a Despicable Me's head. Someone said there's no red heifer prophecy. Here's the point I'm trying to make that I'm going to leave. When someone super chats me and says this and they're like, this is what it is. And then people are like, this is what it's not. Like, it's not something I want to talk about. I'll talk about it because of super chat. But I like to know what I'm talking about. And if I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't want to pretend like I do. And I like that. I know that they're building some sort of thing in Israel to like, I already know them and Zionist Christians are going to probably try to do some like end times thing. I know that. I see that. But with the cow, like I'm not trying to just talk about a red cow because I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about. And I don't even know that it's really happening in Israel. Like I'm sure you're not lying to me, but someone's like, it's not happening. It is happening. It is a prophecy. It's not. It's like, I got to figure out what I'm talking about before I just like jump in on a cow story in Israel. It's like, it could not even be happening, but it also could. That's what I mean. It's not to say like, oh, I'm going to be ignorant for the rest of my life on every topic because I don't want to talk about it. That's not what I'm saying. It's just like, I want to know what I'm talking about. Finish the wall, stop the war, said Nancy. That's what I don't know if most Americans want the wall, but most Americans want to stop the war. And I think it's so funny. Like, it's not actually funny. It's a tragedy, but with like the left and the right, they both like the same. How I'm talking about the speech laws, like the left wants to infringe on your free speech for like homosexuality and like other races or whatever. And then the right does it for like Israel and Jewish stuff. But then if you talk about it, you're hateful or whatever. And both sides are doing the same thing, but they can't see that they're doing the same thing. And they're both lying about it and acting hysterical. And I'm always like, why? How do they not see this? It's the same with like the Ukraine and Israel war. I'm not saying they're the exact same, but it's like people want to stop the war in Ukraine. Right wingers want to stop the war in Ukraine. And when you say stop the war, the left wing calls you pro Putin and you're horrible and you want to hurt people. And it's the reverse in Israel. It's like Republican boomers want to just bomb a bunch of kids or whatever, like fight until the hostages get free. The left wants to stop the war. And everything's like inverted and no one knows what's going on. And like both sides lack the self-awareness to consider. It's like, yes, you want Ukraine to beat Russia, but what if they can't? What if hundreds of thousands of people die and they end up in a worse spot than they were 2 years ago if they just negotiated? It's the same thing with Israel and Palestine. Like, I don't know. To be honest, this is why I don't talk about it too. Like, as far as Hamas, I don't really know much about it besides what I hear. So it's like, what are they doing? Where are they hiding? What countries are they going to? Obviously, I get the gist of it where it's like Iran and other Hezbollah and like, Lebanon and Syria. Like, it's this whole thing that's going on. And I understand maybe more than the average person does. But as far as like people that are pro-Israel in America will say, well, they got to do this until the hostages are freed. They have to kill tens of thousands of kids and women and civilians in order to free the hostages. What if they kill all those civilians and they can't even beat Hamas or free the hostages? Then what? Like, I'm not saying you have to listen to me. I'm just like, Ukraine wants to win the war, but they're not going to win the war. Or maybe they will in 20 years after $10 trillion. At what? And then how many people are dead? So it's like, just because you want something to happen doesn't mean it'll really happen. Ukrainians want to beat Russia, but they're not. So like, how long is this going to go on? It's the same thing with Israel. Like, I know what you want to do in Palestine. You want to free the hostages. You want to get them to stop doing this and get out Hamas. But like, what if you spend 2 years, turn the whole world against you, don't do that, and kill 100,000 civilians? Like, then it's not what you wanted to do. It's what you did do. No one thinks about this. Like, the right wing over Israel is the same as the left wing over Ukraine. It's not the same conflict, but it's like, if you say you want to end either war, everybody hates you. And it's like, the left and the right, it's just like, damn, why does nobody get it? Someone said, yeah, they're both, well, I'm not gonna read that, but I suspect the hostages are collateral damage, or the hostages are gone. Someone said, I don't know. I don't think so. But here's the thing too, is I haven't been reviewing Israel and Palestine for 30 years. So it's like, if I really wanted to dive in on this topic, which, to be honest, I want to dive in as much as I do. I don't want to be like an expert on this. There's already people who've been studying this for 20 years, 10 years, who know more. People like Abby Martin, Max Blumenthal, like they actually, I'm not saying they're right about everything, because some people probably think they're wrong, but they've at least studied it for a long time and know what they're talking about. They know regions. Like, if they're like, oh, they're going to attack Rafah, I don't really know what that means. I've never been there. Abby Martin's been there. I don't know if Max Blumenthal's been there, but he talks about it. I don't even know where it is. So if I said, where is it? I'm not even familiar with the landscape, to be quite honest. With that being said, what I would want to know, if I really wanted to dive into this and make it like my thing, would be like, how many hostages does Israel have? When did people start taking hostages? Like, who took the first hostage? Like, because they've been fighting for like 100 years now. So it's like, I'm not saying that it's ever been this bad. It probably hasn't been, but there's been a lot of moments in this Israel versus Palestine conflict over the last 100 years where there's been a lot of messed up stuff that has happened, from people taking people's houses to people kicking people out to the original, this is ours now. And then like, you're going to go there and I don't want to go there. Like, so if you really want to be accurate about it on either side, you'd have to like go back a long time and kind of trace it to this moment and be like, okay, but no one's really, that's not really what's going on. So it's the same in Ukraine. Like, that's why I'm not saying Putin's right about everything, but that's why he said, like, I'm going to take you back 200 years in history. And like, it was boring. But when I listened to the whole thing, because I had to, or I didn't have to, I just wanted to, for work purposes and just to know I got why he was doing that. It doesn't mean I agree with everything, but like, he's walking through the history of like, this is what it was. This is what the Bolsheviks did. This is when this even became a thing. This is when they became a nation. This is like, once you understand the whole dynamic of it, it paints the landscape of like, and then we did that. If you just start with it, and then that happened, and then there's the hostages, like, yeah, but like, what, if I really wanted to know what I was talking about and really weigh in on this and take like a firm stance, I'd have to know, who else is taking it. Like, and to be honest, if you talk to people from the Middle East, like, it's way deeper than just even Israel, Palestine. I think Israel bombs Syria sometimes. Like, people in Syria just get murked by Israel sometimes. And, Israel says there's people in Syria that are fighting them. Lebanon just gets bombed out of nowhere sometimes, or sometimes maybe they bomb back. Like, it's not like, it's very complex, and there's a lot of proxy wars going on. And that's the thing. It's like, you could say you want to do something, but like, you might not be able to do it. And like, the cost of doing it might be really high. And this is where America gets screwed all the time. It's like, let me give you an example. If Texas tried to take part of Mexico and said, we want half of this part of Mexico, or like, we want this land in Mexico to be Texas, would the whole world come over? Would that give other countries the right to start bombing the United States or bombing Mexico? It really wouldn't. It would be crazy if other countries do that, but we're crazy. So it's like, I'm just being real. It's like, and if Mexico took part of Texas, shouldn't it be up to America and Texas to get the land back? Like, should we have other countries start involving in our proxy war? Like, it's really not our business. Like, other countries around there, it is, but America gets sucked into all these wars, sucked into Afghanistan, sucked into Iraq, and it only hurts the taxpayer, hurts our national security, makes everybody hate us. And 8 times out of 10, we don't even get what we wanted to say we got. Like sometimes we'll get rid of a leader, but the results we claim we want to get almost never happen. So, we fought with the terrorists over here and then we paid these terrorists and then they turned on us and we didn't know. It's like, we're just funding so much stuff. And like, people don't think about it that way, but I do. It's like, if Texas took part of Mexico or Mexico took part of Texas, would you want Lebanon, Syria, Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, and Russia to start fighting on our soil in our country? That would be insane. No matter if our land got stolen or we stole their land, like it's only going to make people hate us. So I get why Israel's doing what it's doing. I get why Palestine's doing what it's doing. I get why, Lebanon and Syria, and I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying like, I understand the dynamic of those countries. Our involvement is crazy, but like we have to be involved because, it's hate speech to not be involved. Like it's hateful, you're hateful if you don't want to be involved, but it's destroying America. Our foreign policy is destroying America. Our lopsided alignments are destroying America. Maybe in some ways they're actually saving America because we need war for the petrodollar or something, maybe in a weird way, joining all the wars is actually helping our, it's possible. I've heard that theory that, all these wars are keeping the petrodollar afloat, or else we'd all be poor. So, that could be a possibility too. But in general, I think they told us that everyone hated us because we were free. That was never true. Like, I'm not saying no one hated us because we were free, but it wasn't the freedom that everybody hated. It was like what our allies and getting involved in other countries. The same way it would be like if Syria and Lebanon were in Mexico just fighting America in Mexico, and then we're like, oh, and then we're like, yo, we don't like Syria and Lebanon because they're trying to attack us on our own soil. And they're like, oh, you just hate us because we're Muslim. And it's like, no, we hate you because you're in Mexico fighting us. And like, oh, no, it's because we're Muslim. You just hate us because we love God. Like, that's kind of like what America does, to be honest. Like, you just hate us because you ain't us. And it's like, everyone's like, no, we hate you because you invaded our country, overthrew our leader who was trying to get on the gold standard and, let terrorists like flood our country and start human trafficking. Like, Libya, I'm talking about, by the way, on that one. But I don't know if that's all true. I'm just saying Gaddafi definitely got killed and then slavery definitely happened. So that part happened. I don't know about the gold standard, but I've heard. Anyway, you guys get it. We got a smart audience. Not everybody. We got some real dummies in here. I'm just kidding. It's just a funny thing to say. Like if you ever do like a show in front of like thousands of people and you're like, we got some real winners in here and everyone's like cheering. We're like, we got some real patriots in here. We got some real legends in here, real thinkers in here. And then we got some real dummies. We got some real losers in here also. We got to be, there's let me try to count them. It's probably 20 to 40. No. And everyone's like, oh, this guy just started throwing popcorn at you. No, not you. Actually, you, but not. No, to the left. You. Yeah, no, not you. You're all right. But like definitely that guy. And then everyone hates you. And then you can't do shows anymore. It's a funny concept. All right. When the comments get too crazy for me to read, that's when I need to leave. But actually, that's every day, all the time. It's like, I always feel like people are like, once it gets to the point where I can't find any normal people anymore, I'm like, I appreciate all the crazies, not for, I'm not calling you crazy. Honestly, a lot of you guys are just messing around, having fun. But like in general, when it gets to the point where I can't find anybody that doesn't like, I'm like, all right, it's time to leave. I've been here for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, let me stop playing the victim and blaming you. It's not you, it's me. Okay. It's not, I'm not blaming my comments. It's me. I'm tired. It's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend. Enjoy yourself. And just to let you guys know, dreamrare.com. We have hats. We have sweatshirts. I don't know how many are left. Maybe I'll check and tell you guys next time. I think the people who won the free hats from the contest, they got the hat. I saw the one email. Got to check my email and do that stuff. But dreamrare.com, dreamrarelinks.com has all my stuff and Patreon as well. I'm going to try to film a Patreon probably tomorrow because I was looking like the month flies by. So I got to get my Patreon people like a special chat. So I'm probably going to set one up tomorrow. I did a little thing with Ted Nugent today, and I think it's going to go on his show on Real America Voice. It's very brief though. Like we barely talked, but at least it was a good intro. And I think I'm going to go on their show more. So that was cool. Ted Nugent is a cool guy. He's like, his energy, he's playing the guitar. He was talking real fast. Like he said he was in his 70s, just crushing it. I was like, dang, dude, this guy's killing it. Like, you know, he was on his own. Like he was on a cloud. His energy was like it was like, I was like, this guy, I like this guy. So hopefully me and Ted Nugent talk again. Cause I just off the 5-10 minute chat we had, he's speaking about legendary energy. That guy's definitely got legendary American energy, no doubt. So we'll see. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one. I've been up since like 6 a.m. because I had to film that early. It's only 1:43. All right. I'm going to probably take a nap. I'm tired. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description or just type in on